Ability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. We made it all the way to the weekend, TGIF. I am here in the show with you, Fancy Brian. I feel quite special being here. And I see, can people hear me now? Great. And I see Evan there in the world headquarters in Madison, lightly screening your phone calls, 844-967-2789. So we're doing the TGIF. And if you hadn't noticed, also here in the Shaw, each Friday night, we're doing the Friday Night Live. So Rocker and Connor and the team, they're going to be doing it live from the streets downtown Waukesha, starting at 6 o'clock. But in the interim, let's do a little politic and let's air some grievances up around here. And the start point, Fans, Brent, first and foremost, I'm so freaking selfish. I don't know if I've ever allowed. Do you have a grievance from the top? I don't know if I've ever allowed you to lead the grievances.
No, I'm good, man. Right now, I'm pretty good. I'm recovering from the show before, and I'm good. Other than when this wonderful orange soda making me a little warm.
Is it Fanta?
It's I believe it's the Sunkist.
The Sunkist. Okay, that's one of your finer orange flavors.
All right, you got me there. I now have a grievance.
What's that?
There's not enough Faygo in this part of the state.
Come on, man. More Faygo.
We need more Faygo.
Fancy Brian, here's what I would say. Remember when all the Ron Johnsons of the world talked about the Capitol insurrectionist? It's like tourists, just friendly, fun-loving people come together for, warm, happy, common good. And we have seen some differing political facts. We've seen some differing accounts. Oh, there were no armed people in the audience. There were no armed insurrectionists.
The mood of the crowd was positive and festive.
Yeah, that's what we've heard guys like U.S. Senator Ron Johnson say. But, one guy today had to make some statements, or he made some statements. In fact, he was charged, U.S. Capitol rioter who carried a weapon loaded with hollow point bullets, pled guilty today. So I guess he's pleading guilty to the charges. Guilty. Here's the more troubling part to my interpretation, Fans Brian. A January 6, 2021, CNN, my source, the gentleman, air quotes, named Mark Mazza, M-A-Z-Z-A. The January 6, 2021 writer pled guilty Friday to carrying a loaded firearm on U.S. Capitol grounds and assaulting police officers with one of their own batons during the insurrection. Mark Mazza, who told federal investigators he regretted not seeing House Speaker Nancy Pelosi during the riot and that he would be here for another reason.
Great.
Presumably murder, right? I mean, when the guy's calling it out on himself, when he's telling the FBI, hey, man, if I'd have seen Nancy, you'd be arresting me for a different reason. I took that as a implicated threat. An implied threat. If he had. Now, Mazza faces a maximum of 20 years for assaulting the officers with the dangerous weapon. Maybe they should throw a few more charges at this guy. According to the plea agreement, Mazza, 57, carried a revolver loaded with shotgun and hollow point rounds in a holster under his shirt during the Stop the Steal rally on the Capitol grounds that day. Republican lawmakers and conservative allies have often falsely claimed that no weapons were brought to the Capitol to argue the attack was not the violent insurrection that it was. Mazza lost the weapon on Capitol grounds sometime before walking to the Lower West Terrace Tunnel, where rioters were battling police officers, according to the plea. So he brought a weapon with hollow point bullets, and he promptly dropped the weapon in the mob. So not a secured firearm, apparently. Inside the tunnel, Mazza held open a door against police officers as other riders using flagpoles, batons, sticks, and stolen law enforcement shields as weapons to strike at, hit, and try to force their way through the police line, the plea agreement states. So this is what he's confessed to. This is part of the plea agreement. He then stole a police officer's baton and used it against the officers guarding the tunnel entrance. Mazza originally denied assaulting officers, even saying he assisted them out of the building. Come here. Let me help you out with my baton as I whack you upside the head. Despite video footage of him swinging a baton in a battle with police, he drove home to Indiana after the riot with the stolen baton in his possession. Possession's 9/10 of the law, right, Fancy Brian? If I had a murder weapon, I might throw it in the ocean. I know, driving back to Indiana, he may not cross an ocean, but he probably crossed a few rivers.
Well, that's if you assume that what you did was wrong.
Mazza was recorded in multiple videos saying, "We own this house." So I'm not sure that he's, feeling particularly guilty, let's just say, although he did plead to the charges. Federal investigators found Mazza after he falsely reported the weapon he brought to the riot was stolen on January 8th, 2021. Now, the other day I told this story. I went on Fox News, I got myself all fired up, and I forgot my wallet. And it wasn't, an hour or two later when I, wanted to stop somewhere, get something, said, "Oh, where's my wallet?" "Oh, I've lost my wallet." But I didn't call the cops and say I lost my wallet 2 days later. If you lose your gun at the mob riot, at the insurrection, do you really call it in stolen, period? Or do you just call it a day? So I wonder how the cops got this guy's name. Do you think maybe by calling in the lost weapon, he put himself, in the police, what do they call it? In the sights?
Again, he's thinking that he is exercising his constitutional right to the Second Amendment at that time. So he's probably saying, they better give me my gun back.
Well, let me clarify the point. That is how they found him. Federal investigators found Mazza after he falsely reported the weapon he brought to the riot was stolen on January 2021. Not a clever guy, this one. Claiming it was taken from his car at an Ohio casino. He later told investigators he fabricated the claim because he feared members of Antifa might find the gun, and his name was all over it. What, he drew his name on the gun? Do people do that? Do they, tattoo their guns?
I wouldn't be surprised if he got like a mini bumper sticker or a bunch of them to put on his gun.
We've got many stickers from the Shaw. You can get them at Friday Night Live. You can put them on your radio. We're giving away radios. Just, give us some way to contact you if you win, and you can register for a radio, and the radio is going to have our name all over it. We're going to have the Shaw sticker. But do you get like the things at home? My mom had them when I was a kid. You print out the individual letters. It's like pa-chunk, pa-chunk, pa-chunk. You could spell stuff out, and you put the strips, you cut the strip, you put it on, this is my bike, Crudy's bike, or whatever. Oh, you got one. What's that thing called? I
have a label maker.
That is
we have a label maker.
Oh.
Wonderful Brady label maker.
Would you call it our time, Mr. Hand?
Either way, I complain a lot about the time that I worked at the grocery store and things like that. One of my favorite times was just doing all the labels in the morning. You get the new labels. You get to go put out I don't know why.
Like the prices, like
it really
69 cents for bananas.
Yeah, but if it went up to like 65 cents, I would be the for the liquor department. I get the new labels every day. They change prices and stuff. I would love to go and change those things. It's a function of it that really worked for me. Anyway,
now,
I'm into the label maker.
If you had a handgun with hollow point bullets and you were illegally participating in an insurrection, let's just say at the U.S. Capitol, and you took the same aforementioned weapon with you, would you want to make sure you had your label maker? Would you have Maz's revolver on there, Maz's gun, Maz's replacement penis, any of those sort of things?
I would think that he'd at least, carve it into there, like maybe get a wood handle or wood stock that he just carved it into. What kind of a gun is this? Is it a revolver? A handgun?
Revolver.
Okay.
Apparently, revolver. They did say that. Revolver with hollow point bullets. Republican lawmakers and conservatives have falsely claimed that no weapons were brought to the Capitol. I think I'm being redundant, but Mazza did bring a weapon to the Capitol. And of course, he was worried, if he didn't call it in falsely, if he didn't make a false claim to the FBI, well, the Antifa would find his weapon. Because even though he was there, he was buying into the further conspiracy. It wasn't actually him that was the insurrectionist. It was some freaking Antifa. And they were going to find his gun with his label maker, Maz's, replacement penis on there.
Well, he was being swept away with all the Antifa people. He couldn't possibly have left them, possibly leave the gun for them.
And therefore, the false claim to the FBI is the reason he was picked up and charged with charges that subsequently could lead to sentencing of up to 20 years. And he also said to those very same federal investigators, if I'd have just bumped into Nancy Pelosi, I'd have presumably shot her ass. Not the smartest of criminals. He was wearing
I have a feeling she would have just looked at him and gone boo, and he would have screamed and run away.
This man, he's sort of a thick dude. We're both thick guys, but
he would have wilded away.
A little thicker than I, maybe a little less thick than you. You're a bigger man than I. Some glasses, a little bit of facial hair, kind of graying, 58. And then
was he a white dude?
Oh, shocker.
I just need to check. I wasn't sure.
He was a white guy. And, he was a MAGA. How do you know this? Sleeveless American flag wife beater style t-shirt.
He could be a St. Louis Cardinals fan. You never know.
Come on. That's not go Cardinals. That's go shoot Nancy Pelosi.
There's a Venn diagram there, buddy.
Yeah. And it's Cardinals fans, insurrectionists, and those with replacement penis label maker guns.
Pretty much.
It's Friday. We air the grievances. I led with mine. You can lead with yours at 844-967-2789. More devils. We'll be right back.
Put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
We've included a Venn diagram.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen.
For late nights writing English papers.
For your teen's music taste.
For dinners where they talk more on their phone than with you.
For the first time, they call you mom.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen, and you can't imagine the reward.
To learn more about adopting a teen, visit adoptuskids.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
You recall the Capitol insurrection? A post-ABC News poll showed 54% said Trump should be criminally charged for inciting the riot. That's like a litany of criminal allegations against the former president. You can say it's all partisanship and a witch hunt, but there wasn't one credible accusation against Obama during his entire 8-year term. So how Republicans just ignore all the evidence? I mean, he was perpetrating a coup on multiple levels.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much. I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Malarkey. The devil's advocates invented malarkey.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We made it all the way to Friday, people. Coming up, Friday Night live from the Shaw. I'm broadcasting live from the Shaw headquarters right here, beautiful Waukesha. It's a glorious day. It'll be a great night to come out and party. Rocker and the boys, they're going to do it like we do it every Friday night, all summer long, right here, live from Waukesha. But this show ain't even close to being done. We're going to take your Friday grievances at 844-967-2789. Greg called early. So, Greg, you're the first one on today. What do you got for us?
Hey boys, how you guys doing today?
Excellent, sir.
Pretty nice out there. Got to find yourself a good beer garden tonight.
The whole of downtown Waukesha will be a nice beer garden tonight, man. I don't know if you ever tried the Friday Night Live. It's a great thing, Greg. You should sneak down to Waukesha some night.
Oh, I don't know about going in the enemy camp there. I don't know.
Come on, man. We got a foxhole right here on Wisconsin Avenue. You can come party with the boys here.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I should do. Yeah, but have you guys thought too much or thought about the end game here yet, and what should happen? I mean, when Nixon was resigned, he was forced to resign and then pardoned, but Trump's already out. You can't.
Biden ain't going to pardon him. There's not going to be a pardon, Greg, right?
Right. But are you bar him from running for office? Are you going to say that he can't be appointed to, to a position in government, because I thought I heard something where you could appoint anybody Speaker of the House. You don't have to be am I wrong on that?
No, Greg, you're absolutely right. You do not have to be a congressional member to be Speaker of the House. And there are specific Congress people, I think Matt Gaetz, that are advocating specifically, if they win back the House of Representatives, to put Trump in that position. That would put him third in line to the presidency. Technically, second in line.
Right. And that how awful is that? And
of course, and the idea would be is that they would then lead the impeachment against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and theoretically, were it successful in the Senate, and it would not be, but if you did the math and played it out, well, hell, they could put Trump back into power in the line of secession.
Right. Yeah, they'll try anything. We know that, but the end game here is to not have him be able to run for president again and not be able to be, whatever you want to call it, appointed to a high office. Or
Greg, the end game should be prison for this freaking guy. The guy plotted a coup against the U.S. government, sir.
Right. Right. The least it would be that he can't, be running, be in office anymore or hold any kind of position of power. Secondly, would be, I don't know, a fine. Third would be in jail.
Well, the fine. Let's go there for a minute, Greg. There will be civil lawsuits that chase this man for the rest of his life. And part of the civil lawsuits is officers like Falone. There's also a contingent of U.S. Congress people. They were also had their lives threatened at the U.S. Capitol that day. If Donald Trump, and the burden of proof is going to be less in these civil trials. If you'll recall, O.J. Simpson got off on the criminal stuff, but the civil stuff, the fines, the Goldman family chased his ass to the end of time. O.J.'s still running through airports to try and get away from those civil forfeiture kind of things. So I think Donald Trump's going to get blood broke. I think his brand is so freaking tarnished. I don't see, other than the grifting of his lemming-like followers that continue to send him donations so he can then turn around and keep the donations, effectively keep people's money. I mean, he has committed fraud on a massive level, on a $250 million level. Greg, I cannot imagine, and I think he will run for president again. Dom and I completely disagree on this point. I think he's going to do it because he sees it as a get out of jail free card. I think he will be unsuccessful because I think justice will catch up to him.
I hope you're right. I hope he does run again, and hope he does get beat. But you know, he can't be allowed to get away with what he's doing here. There's got to be a penalty involved with this, and I haven't heard any other Republican senators comment about what's going on yet. Have you guys heard anything like from the?
Oh, they're all pretending like they're blissfully unaware of what's going on, especially if they're appearing on Fox News, Greg. Appreciate your call. Thanks for listening to the Devil's Advocates. You can be like Greg at 844-967-2789. I believe I saw some quotes, although I didn't really dig beyond the headlines. Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina, said something to the effect, I remember when I used to be scared of Trump. When he used to be scared of Trump.
Used to be?
You know, wanted to get to another story in this segment. Peter Navarro. We've talked about the January 6th coup. Peter Navarro was one of the coup plotters. And Peter Navarro effectively wrote a book. He went on Ari Melber. He's made public confessions. I mean, I think he's in tremendous legal jeopardy. It's being described as a slow-rolling comedy sketch, though. His interactions with the criminal justice system. First, Navarro was going to be his own lawyer. And then he showed up with some lawyers because he had a court appearance today. And he wants to put off his trial on contempt of Congress charges. But you see why, Fancy Brian, what his explanation is?
Was it like me where my grandmother died?
Well, his explanation is he's got a big book tour.
Oh, so no, not like that.
So could you take me to trial next year? Because I'm going to be very, very busy selling the coup, the inside story on Amazon, a book tour, a magical mystery tour, Peter Navarro style.
You think that would have worked for OJ?
Do you think these guys don't quite understand the sort of legal jeopardy they might be in? Come back with us. It's the Friday edition, the TGIF Devil's Advocates. You can be a part. Join us. Dial us up, 844-96-PARTY. It's a political party up in here.
We will find you. We will arrest you. We will jail you. We will throw you the hell out of the country.
Oh, it looks good on you, though.
Oh, Devil Radio. Good thing I brought my horns.
The U.S. House of Representatives Select Committee on January 6th are continuing to hold the hearing on the panel's 10-month investigation. Tune into 92.7 FM and the Devil Radio app as we broadcast the hearings live. The hearings will present previously unseen evidence and testimony from the Select Committee's investigation into the Capitol insurrection. Gavel-to-gavel coverage for the Select Committee public hearings live right here on 92.7 FM and the Devil Radio app.
Oh, that really hits the spot.
So we get to put away the Senator Sanders impersonation for a little while?
I'm not saying that he's gone for good, but stopping out here at the Atomic Koi in Fitchburg is really helping the Plastered for Progress agenda.
Yeah, the Koi's a great spot. It's got great vibes, and the patio is perfect for spring.
I'm staying here.
They do have operating hours, Brian.
Time has no meaning here. That's what makes the Koi atomic.
Does that mean that it's always patio season at the Atomic Koi?
Even if the patio's closed.
Suck down drinks so we don't have to suck.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. A third person has died from the shooting at a potluck supper at a church near Birmingham, Alabama. Captain Shane Ware did not name the suspect, but said he is 71 years old and has attended services at the church.
The suspect is currently in custody at the Vestavia Hills Police Department and will remain here while warrants for capital murder are issued by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office later today.
Ware says the suspect and the three victims were all white. Prosecutors have accused a Las Vegas man of committing a hate crime by killing one person and wounding five at a mass shooting last month at a Taiwanese American church luncheon in California. Coy Griffin, who founded the political group Cowboys for Trump, was sentenced to 14 days behind bars for joining the mob that attacked the Capitol in January of last year. It's time already served. Griffin is also an elected official who was a central figure in a New Mexico county's refusal to certify recent election results based on debunked conspiracy theories about voting machines. Today in Kyiv.
The WDN, everybody. I'm Boris Johnson from London.
and I just want you to know that we support you. Slava Ukraini.
The British Prime Minister met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and said evidence points to Russia taking heavy casualties in the invasion.
Good luck and congratulations on destroying all these Russian tanks.
The European Union's executive arm recommended putting Ukraine on a path to membership. Regulators authorized the first coronavirus shots for infants and preschoolers, paving the way for vaccinations to begin next week. FDA Commissioner Robert Kalish says too many kids are dying from the virus.
Statistics like these are unnerving. By vaccinating our youngest children, we hope to prevent the most devastating consequences of COVID, by extension, providing benefits to their families and communities.
This is AP News.
Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. According to the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development, the number of Wisconsinites who are working hit a historic high of 3.06 million in May. The unemployment rate for the month was 2.9%, up slightly from April. New claims of unemployment insurance benefits also neared record lows. There was a heavy police presence at Marcus Point Cinema yesterday, which included the police department's SWAT team and crisis negotiator. 5 teens ran into the theater after a rollover crash on the Beltline near Mineral Point Road around 6 p.m. Officials found a loaded handgun inside the crashed silver sedan, which police said had been stolen on the far west side a few days prior. After fleeing the crash scene, 5 juveniles bought tickets to a movie and hid behind the theater screen, where they were later found and taken into custody. The Milwaukee Brewers lost their 3-game series against the New York Mets 2-1. You're listening to the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the TGIF edition. That's when we air the grievances up around here at 844-967-2789. I believe young Dominic, the birthday week boy, Dominic joins a little bit later at 4. And I believe Jim Santel is also going to try to call in. And you know, Fancy Brian, Jim Santel's outstate. He's teaching some young kids, like high school age kids, civics lessons in the Eau Claire part of the state of Wisconsin, where I live. And you know what Jim is fascinated by today? The lack of stable internet connection in a relatively large metropolis within the state of Wisconsin. I tried to make this point earlier today. I probably am a little better traveled than some of my friends. I've been all around the state. And I try to call, I like work the phones constantly. And that's why I do. I call friends, call enemies, call everybody. I just work the phones. And there are so many places in the state of Wisconsin, you can't even get a clear cell phone signal. And, you know, here and I'm just outside Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm in a big suitcase community, Waukesha, and I live in Madison or the Madison area. We've all got great internet, or at least the ability to access it with enough money, let's just say. So if you buy a fiber, if you buy a big pipe, you can have great internet. But there are some places not that far from here, a couple hours away, it's not even available at that sort of speed. There's not a reliable way to deliver things like streaming video. Well, I get my news now from streaming video. I cut the cable a couple of years ago. But without the streaming video, you know what? I'm stuck with CBS, ABC, and NBC, and maybe PBS and Fox, right? Those are the only ones that are consistently in every market. So, you know, it becomes a news desert out there. And it really speaks to the importance, and I know I'm kind of self-serving in saying this, to the importance of radio. Free delivery of radio. If your internet is not reliable, you still depend on the radio. And here in the state of Wisconsin, I know this, and I'll tell you why someday soon. But I know that radio is still a viable medium because it's the only way to get the word out across the state. So anyways, every time I tell you about the 81 right-wing talk radio stations and all the Christian stations in the state of Wisconsin, just understand they are changing the media environment here in the state of Wisconsin day by day, week by week. And now suddenly, you know, in a glacial sort of way, we're going to push back. We're going to keep changing and pushing back against the concept that we have ceded the airwaves to the right. So anyways, I don't know why I went there, Fancy Brian, other than the fact Jim Santel will call in if he can get a good damn cell signal. Otherwise, he's like an Eau Claire people, and he can't get one.
Just a real quick point about that is that imagine going around every day and having spotty cell service all the time. You want to go and check out the things that everybody else that you know or your friends are talking. You finally get a call from them. I want to go and check out the things online. You can't.
It's very the pandemic camper my wife bought and eventually sold because the pandemic hopefully is over. Knock on wood. But you couldn't get cell phone up there.
Yeah. Imagine
not worth the damn. You couldn't pull the news up.
Now for us going up north and all that stuff, it's wonderful to unplug. It's such a nice thing and all that stuff.
20 minutes outside Madison.
But my point is, imagine that's a lot of the people in the state of Wisconsin, and imagine how overlooked you feel. Imagine how completely ignored you feel, just in general, not being able to have access to the same type of thing that the rest of the world kind of has. Really easy to go and take advantage of somebody who feels that aggrieved and feels that left out. And when the only clear message you have is a bunch of right-wing talk radio stations, it's a lot easy to see how that slides that way.
Well, Scott Walker pitted rural Wisconsin against urban and metropolitan Wisconsin. Don't let Wisconsin become Milwaukee. Well, Milwaukee's an economic engine for this state. For every dollar Milwaukee, the city, I guess we're not in Milwaukee. Trump came to Waukesha. He claimed it as Milwaukee, but you get the point.
You're drinking Milwaukee water, though.
Are we?
Yeah, they won the contract.
Oh, I forgot about that. I thought Foxconn stole all the water.
They still
or might if they ever manufactured anything down there.
Either way, they got a straw in the lake.
Anyways, Fancy Brian, if there's any point I'm making, I guess it's just that the state of Wisconsin, I'm going to use some labor stats just for a minute. State of Wisconsin has a very high labor participation rate currently, like 66%. That's about 5%. I think the nation as a whole is at like 62%. So we're like 4.5% better than the nation as a whole. As a pure percentage, obviously we're like 10%, approaching 10% higher in our participation rate than other states in the nation. And I wonder why. Why is Wisconsin, good German work ethic? What is it? And then I realize it's because we've let so many kids off the farm. We've let so much of the talent of Wisconsin bleed away that we're down. We've sort of distilled it down to just those that really, really love this state, or maybe don't feel like they've got economic or other opportunities, don't know how to get away. They feel trapped by this state. If you don't have a highway in your county in the state of Wisconsin, I suspect this is the case so much across the nation. But if your county does not have a highway, you don't really have a future. I mean, the progress follows the interstate transportation system, at least in the state of Wisconsin. But if you don't have access, if you're not right off the highway, if you can't get on the exit ramp and hop on an interstate here in the state of Wisconsin, you're more likely to get the hell out of Wisconsin. You're certainly not going to live in northern Wisconsin or in an area where you can't even compete in a modern marketplace. If you can't get the internet in Eau Claire consistently, a good cell signal, how do you do freaking business there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've heard people make fun of the folks up north. Oh, it's like getting stuck in the 80s, or they're stuck in the 70s, they're stuck back in time. Well,
they are literally stuck in free internet, or it's like AOL, it's like dial-up speed.
That doesn't work for anything.
No, not really. Anyways, just thought I'd pontificate a little on a Friday. Want to actually talk about the slow rolling comedy sketch. Peter Navarro, the former Trumpster, was he a cabinet level secretary? He was like the economic advisor to the former president. But Navarro apparently is being mocked after telling the judge he wants to postpone his trial because he's got a big book tour this summer. You remember when he got arrested, Fancy Brian? What was his claim? I told the judge they wouldn't give me a phone call to call a lawyer. But he showed up in court and said, I don't want a lawyer. And then later he said, I want a lawyer. I'll represent myself. although he's an economist, not a lawyer. But he was corrected. Apparently, he purged himself, literally went to court and lied to the judge, because the one call he actually wanted was to call the producer of the Mike Huckabee show and tell him, hey, can't be on the big broadcast. So I'm just saying, I'm going to read a little of this story and have a little fun with you if you join us, 844-967-2789.
The one time I got arrested, I called off of work.
You called work?
I called work.
I think I'd probably call the wife, not so much for bail as just to tell her, I won't be home tonight, baby. Former top White House advisor, conspiracy theorist, and big lie promoter Peter Navarro was arrested earlier this month after being indicted by a grand jury. And he told a federal judge he'll be busy this fall promoting his upcoming book, as he rejected several suggested dates and tried to push his trial into next year. I don't have time to be found guilty this year, Your Honor. I got a book tour. Maybe he's got to go earn some money for the legal defense so he can hire a real lawyer. Arraigned at 10 a.m. Eastern time, Navarro pled not guilty to 2 counts of contempt of Congress after ignoring a legal subpoena and refusing to cooperate with the House Select Committee on the January 6th attack. Everyone that's fought the legitimacy of this House Select Committee, see Steve Bannon, see Peter Navarro, they all lose. They might be delaying it, but justice is still coming for all of them. Now, Navarro repeatedly claimed he would represent himself, but at the last minute hired 2 attorneys who appeared with him late Friday morning. Politico's Kyle Cheney reports Navarro's attorney told federal district court judge Amit Mehta, and here's a quote, Fancy, he wants to slow down the trial schedule after Mehta suggested he had availability in August. That's like 2 months from now, September or mid-November. But Navarro's team says Navarro was planning to put a book in September, and he'll be on the road a lot. On the road again. Will he? Wouldn't he have to ask permission of the court?
I don't think so.
Now, federal prosecutors said the Department of Justice has serious concerns about delaying the trial for a book tour. Liz Dye, who writes about law and politics at Above the Law, notes Navarro's book is on the topics he refused to discuss with the committee, citing executive privilege. And we heard some testimony of this sort.
John Bolton did it.
I cannot didn't remember the Eastman. We played some of Eastman's testimony. First, we heard him plead the fifth, right? Eastman is the coup plotter guy. He is an actual lawyer, but Eastman, was only answering selected questions. But Eastman claims, I believe it was January 4th of 2021, that Trump gave him permission to publicly go out and maybe it was after the January 6th, but give him permission to talk about it publicly. The, executive privilege stuff. You can go tell Ari Melber, you can tell the media, but you may not testify to the January 6th. So you can see where the confusion for a guy like Navarro, I'm going to put all the testimony in this book, putting myself in the most flattering light and hopefully selling some copies. But I can't actually come and talk to the J6 committee because, you're illegitimate. Unlike me and my self-lowering ass, Navarro and his attorneys tried to push the trial to next April. That's almost a year away, Fancy Brian. Judge Mehta warned Navarro after he improperly emailed the court. In the last 2 days, defendant has twice communicated with the court by emailing the courtroom deputy without copying government counsel. This is not proper. Defendant is not permitted to have an ex parte communication with the court. In other words, if I speak to the court, you also have to let the Department of Justice know what you're saying. You can't go talk to the judge outside of the witness of other counsel. I've been accused of the very same thing. Literally. Small claims court. It was a court commissioner. No big deal, but someone had to make a federal case out of it.
My goodness.
Navarro exited the hearing with a prosecutor behind him holding a sign that reads, "The big lie almost kill protester," not prosecutor. I don't mean to confuse. So Navarro's leaving and a guy's holding up a big sign, "The big lie almost killed our democracy." So, that's going to be a little embarrassing. Outside the court, after his hearing in a small press conference, Navarro swung into full promotional mode. Got a book to sell, fancy, telling reporters the name of his book. And it's on Amazon, by the way.
I wouldn't pull this crap in Brad Schimmel's court.
I mean, they've all tried this. John Bolton didn't testify, subpoena me, right? But he wrote a book. Bill Barr wrote a book, didn't he? They all wrote a book. Navarro wrote a book. They didn't have the courage, even if you set out the perhaps criminality of Navarro in this case. And the fact he is being charged, and this is a federal courtroom that he's appearing in and saying, "Oh, I can't stand trial for my crimes," alleged, because I got a book tour. Can you imagine a black kid walking into the courthouse in Milwaukee, the federal courthouse, and saying, "No, I can't stand trial, Your Honor. Got a book tour, got a concert tour, going on the road. Come back, next April, maybe. How about we do it then?" You think that'd fly down at the courthouse? I'm not sure it's going to fly for Mr. Navarro either. Come back, promoting nothing other than the greatest radio show ever. Devil's Advocate, you're listening right now. Join us. Your grievances could be next. 844-967-2789.
When people try to sell books, they do all sorts of interesting, exotic things.
We've traced the call. It's coming from inside the house.
19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Feel like your emotions are all over the place? A healthy routine that includes enough sleep, exercise, and proper nutrition can help you feel more centered.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Mitch McConnell did make a public statement, right? After he voted to acquit, nothing says the president can't be prosecuted. Set the example for your caucus.
Convince your caucus as to why the man is not fit to serve. How do you not use your leadership? Say, you guys, this is crazy. We can't do this, and here is exactly why. Because now of the two major political parties, one of them is under the thumb of a fascist insurrectionist.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi there, I'm Kirk Bankstad and I own the Monaco Brewing Company. And I also have a super PAC. We make good trouble in the North Woods of Wisconsin. You can support our efforts at the MonacoBrewingCompany.com and buy our Wove gear like t-shirts, hoodies, and trucker hats. Enter the code RADIO and get 10% off on your next purchase. A portion of all sales support the Monaco Brewing Company Super PAC, which is dark money meant for good. That's the MonacoBrewingCompany.com.
COVID-19 vaccines are starting to become available across the country. Now is the time to get informed. Get the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. A message brought to you by the Ad Council and the CDC.
Just let me hear some of the rock and roll music. Any old way you choose it. Gotta backbeat, you can't lose it. Any old time you use
sausage making.
It's gotta be rock and roll music if you wanna dance with me.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. Dom's joining soon. You can join us right now, 844-967-2789. Our custom Aaron of the Grievances. Our new custom's doing Friday Night live broadcast from the Shaw. That'll happen at 6 o'clock. And in Madison, we're going to replay it starting at 9 o'clock this evening. So if you like a little live rock and roll music on a Friday night, you've tuned into the right place. But the politicking, we're not quite done yet. And, Dom's joining. And, if Jim Santel can get a cell signal, he's going to join as well. But Fancy Brian, I wanted to tell you about what's happening in the great state of Michigan. They got something of a circus of a GOP gubernatorial primary. And the front runner, this Ryan Kelly guy, very similar name. I think he's similarly fancy as well. Well, Ryan Kelly was arrested very recently. The GOP frontrunner, like 20% of wide field. And let's not forget, all kinds of them had been thrown off the ballot for illegal ballot signatures. But this Ryan Kelly was arrested for participating in the January 6th. And today, or at least very recently, he had to go before the judge because apparently Ryan's got a concealed carry permit. And what kind of a self-respecting GOP political candidate doesn't conceal carry? Because he's got to protect himself and all that kind of stuff. From insurrectionists and coup surrectionist bastard sorts. Oh yeah, maybe not those people, but Black Lives Matter people, got to protect yourself from them. A federal judge has denied a request by Republican gubernatorial candidate Ryan Kelly to possess a firearm while he faces charges related to the J6 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Oh, that's a shame. Kelly, who was arrested by the FBI at his Allendale Township home last week, is charged with 4 misdemeanor counts: knowingly entering or remaining in a restricted building or grounds on the J6, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building or grounds, and knowingly engaging in any act of physical violence against a person or property in a restricted building or grounds. That seems to be, Fancy Brand, when you include the physical violence aspect in the charging memo, I got to think that's one of the more substantial charges. Just saying. And willfully injuring or committing any depredation against any property of the United States. Does that mean he was crapping on something?
He may have been this fecal smearer.
I think there are multiple suspects on that.
Do you think he used gloves or was like, nah, I'm good?
Kelly is one of 5 Republican GOP hopefuls left on the August 2nd ballot, just a week before Wisconsin goes to their partisan primary. August 2nd ballot, after 5 others were tossed off due to fraudulent petition signature scandal, joining businessman Kevin Rinke, right-wing media personality Tudor Dixon. Rhymes with Tudor Dixon. Chiropractor.
Parents must have loved him.
Tudor.
Our last name is Dixon. What should we name our son?
Let's call him Tudor. And his middle name's like Chauncey. Tudor Chauncey Dixon, something of that sort. Chiropractor Garrett Saldano and Reverend Ralph Reband. Looks similar to Rembrandt, but, less artistic. The winner of the GOP primary will face Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer on November 8th. Appearing via video in the U.S. District Court in the District of Columbia Thursday, Kelly's attorney requested that his client, who has a concealed carry permit, be allowed to continue carrying a firearm while campaigning. Gonna take a firearm out to the pancake breakfast. I'm going to have to shake some hands and kiss some babies and shoot some people, maybe.
I love handling babies with a firearm. That's really where that's a good politician, because
when you put down that pistola, will you hold and kiss my baby for a photo?
Nope, I'm holding it on my holster.
Can my baby hold the pistol for the photo?
I mean, that's America right there.
Gary Springstead said Kelly, who he referred to as a high-profile candidate, hire all the time, doesn't have campaign security and wanted the weapon in order to protect himself. Well, I don't have campaign security, but I got Fancy Brian.
You have to inspire somebody. You have to inspire somebody enough to hate you enough to kill you. And I don't think Ryan Kelly is inspiring enough people to even vote for him, let alone kill him.
Judge Robin Merriweather sided with the federal prosecutors who objected to Kelly's request, noting that the standard release terms for defendants include a prohibition on firearm possession. Kelly, who's free on bond, must also surrender his passport. Do they think he's a flight risk? Is he going to go perpetrate a coup in a different country?
But I thought he was so famous that such a big profile that he needs to carry
Well, there was a small concession from the judge. Meriwether, in this case, granted a defense request to allow the 40-year-old Kelly to avoid notifying pretrial services while traveling within Michigan. You know, it's going to be a hell of a time if you're on paper and you're running for governor, let's say, and you got to notify the office of, probation and parole every time you like traveled the state. That's all they do constantly, right? Campaign, collect checks, try to participate in a coup now and again, just for kicks and giggles. But he was granted the ability to, travel within the state or cross into another state while traveling from one part of Michigan to another. Does that mean he's permitted to travel across the state of Wisconsin? I mean, if he was up in the UP, right? And he wanted to get to, I don't know, it seems like an inefficient route, but if you're up in somewhere near Duluth, let's say, where Minnesota and the UP of Michigan and Wisconsin all meet. I don't know, man. You had to go to, what's someplace across the border down near Chicago. Well, it might be a more efficient route across Wisconsin.
Well, all I can tell you is that taking a gun across borders, from Illinois, let's say, to, the southern border of Wisconsin is apparently okay. So he should be fine.
Well, not for Kelly, who's out on probation, can't bring the gun. Bring the cannolis, can't bring the gun. But here's why I would tell you, Kelly, do not travel across the great state of Wisconsin from north to south. Because when you get the major metros in southern Wisconsin, you're going to get good cell phone service. You're going to be able to stream some music. Hell, listen to the Devil's Advocates on 540 AM. But up north there, hey, the cell service, it's terrible. You're going to want to avoid it, sir. You're going to want to stay in Michigan, or perhaps a federal prison where you might, find new accommodations on a day real soon.
I think they have a dedicated internet line there
at prison. We used to get letters from prison. They used to write us from Waupun. We had a big cheering section down in the cell block C. Come back, more Devil's Advocates. Didn't Papadopoulos go to Oxford prison? That was one of the Trumpsters, one of the 34 convicted after the Mueller report. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates. Dom joins next.
Gotta be rock roll music if you want to dance with me.
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Hi, I'm a pleasant voice reminding you to enable Devil Radio before playing Devil Radio. First, you have to enable Devil Radio, which should be natural to Wisconsinites. Just say, Alexa, enable Devil Radio. Then firmly and confidently say, Alexa, play Devil Radio. This should conjure the Devil Radio app, available at the App Store.
Listen to the Empowered Caregiver Show each Saturday and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. with hosts Liza Hellenbrand and Kristen Voss.
Right here on Devil Radio 92.7, WTTN 1580 AM, and the Devil Radio app.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. A third person has died from the shooting at a potluck supper at a church near Birmingham, Alabama. Captain Shane Ware did not name the suspect, but said he is 71 years old and has attended services at the church.
The suspect is currently in custody at the Vestavia Hills Police Department and will remain here while warrants for capital murder are issued by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office later today.
Ware says the suspect and the 3 victims were all white. Prosecutors have accused a Las Vegas man of committing a hate crime by killing 1 person and wounding 5 at a mass shooting last month at a Taiwanese American church luncheon in California. Coy Griffin, who founded the political group Cowboys for Trump, was sentenced to 14 days behind bars for joining the mob that attacked the Capitol in January of last year. It's time already served. Griffin is also an elected official who was a central figure in a New Mexico county's refusal to certify recent election results based on debunked conspiracy theories about voting machines. Today in Kyiv.
Dobry dzień, everybody. I'm Boris Johnson from London, and I just want you to know that we support you. Slava Ukraini.
The British Prime Minister met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and said evidence points to Russia taking heavy casualties in the invasion.
Good luck and congratulations on destroying all these Russian tanks.
The European Union's executive arm recommended putting Ukraine on a path to membership. Regulators authorized the first coronavirus shots for infants and preschoolers, paving the way for vaccinations to begin next week. FDA Commissioner Robert Kalish says too many kids are dying from the virus.
Statistics like these are unnerving. By vaccinating our youngest children, we hope to prevent the most devastating consequences of COVID, by extension, providing benefits to their families and communities.
This is AP News. Florida's governor says no to children's vaccines.
Even though Republican Governor Ron DeSantis said the state would not order and distribute the COVID-19 shots for children under 5, the White House says Florida doctors will be able to directly order the vaccines for young children from the federal government. Florida was the only jurisdiction in the nation to decline to place advance orders for the pediatric shots, which received the okay from the FDA. Final authorization from the CDC is expected soon, clearing the way for the last remaining unvaccinated age group to be eligible for the shots. I'm Shelley Adler.
2 white Florida men have been charged with a federal hate crime for allegedly beating a black man in a store parking lot while yelling racial slurs. The pair had already been charged with assault and battery under state law for the November attack in a store parking lot north of Tampa. I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
Dad is the smartest guy.
Make sure you listen to Devil Radio 92.7. If you do, you go to heaven.
When we built the Devil Radio World Headquarters in Madison, it was filthy with construction dust, a real mess. I called Magnific Cleaning Services and they made it shine. A few days later, we moved in and created a whole new mess. Magnific Cleaning Services made it shine again. Now Magnific Cleaning Services is the only cleaners I trust with the keys to my company. They clean Devil Radio affordably and with great attention to detail. Find them online at magnificservice.com for a free estimate. Tell them Devil Radio sent you.
I'm Peter Pekarsky, a U.S. Senate candidate approving this ad paid for by Pekarsky for Wisconsin, asking what kind of world do you want to leave to your children and grandchildren? A world where Ron Johnson uses his Senate vote to change the tax code so another $79 million stays with 3 of his rich campaign contributors instead of paying for Wisconsin schools and roads, or a world where Peter Pekarsky is a U.S. Senator working for all the people of Wisconsin. Tell us what you want at pekarskyforwisconsin.com.
Summer is now, and it's not too late to make your backyard an oasis. Go Landscaping can create a sanctuary from the world right in your backyard. Stone fireplaces, stone patio, outdoor kitchens, stone is their passion. Hardworking and professional, call Cody. Their dry stone certified mason will help you design and realize your dream this summer. Call Gold Landscaping today at 608-807-9245. Stop dreaming and go love your yard.
Supplying your political fix on the back roads from Sauk City to Beaver Dam on WTTN 1580 AM Devil Radio.
Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. The bodies of 2 Milwaukee men who drowned trying to save a 10-year-old boy were found by searchers Thursday, nearly 3 days after they were swept away by high waters. The 2 bodies found were identified as the boy's father and the other man who tried to save them. Police and fire officials said that they hope the recovery of the bodies can help their families and community in the grieving process. The average response time for all utilities in Wisconsin during the recent power outages or major events is more than 5 hours, according to recent electric utility performance reports, making Wisconsin the 43rd slowest in the country in terms of response time. Mostly sunny skies are in the forecast today with an expected high of 82 degrees. Winds up to 20 miles per hour with an overnight low of 52 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition, TGIF. Dominic, we're doing the Friday night live from Waukesha. They closed down the downtown, live bands partying. It's going to be a good time. We're going to broadcast it on the radio beginning at 6. But, buddy, we got 2 more hours of politicking to do.
Nice.
And, we got Fancy Brian here in the Shaw with me today. We got Evan back in the world headquarters, lightly screening the calls at 844-967-2789. I got you right here with me, at least on the screen, Dom. But apparently no Jim Santel today. We apologize. Bad cell phone in northern Wisconsin.
Yeah, shocking, right?
Well, it is a little more shocking once you get up there and you realize it's really bad. Jim will do his live show tomorrow morning, 9 to 11. If you haven't heard Morning Cannolis with Jim Santel yet, you're missing something. Come, have the cannoli, stay, and learn something. The very smart former U.S. Attorney Jim Santel, 9 to 11, Saturday mornings, replayed on Sundays for your listening pleasure. But Dom, it's time to start airing some grievances. And I got to tell you, Donald Trump's got a litany of them today. And we've got some sound, but we've also got some reporting on this. Donald Trump apparently giving a little speechifying today. Dom found some supportive MAGAs.
The Faith and Freedom Coalition, Crudy. I'm surprised we didn't, pack up the gear and go broadcast live from the Faith and Freedom Coalition today.
Well, that's the abbreviated title. Actually, technically, Dom, it's the Faith and Freedom Coalition's Road to Majority Policy Conference.
What does that even mean?
The FFC RMPC. FFC RMPC.
All right, got it. Good.
Make it note of it, please. Former President Donald Trump said it's no coincidence that the same people who pushed the Russia hoax are the same people who are now pushing this insurrection hoax. Did he not watch the television on January 6th of 2021? I'm pretty sure he did. All reports, that's all he did.
Of course that's what he was doing, man. He was probably pausing and rewinding the TiVo, man, to get some detail.
Dominic, according to Trump, the Capitol riot was a simple protest that got out of hand. Now, we've got some sound of Trump. I know how the people love when I do Trump's voice, but, we're going to feed you a little broccoli, a little of Trump. And what they call this big shindig, this soiree, Dom. Oh, yeah, here it is. The Faith and Freedom Coalition Road to Majority Policy Conference. Again, that's the FFC RMPC. And Trump gave a little sound, and we're going to play a little of it for you. Not a lot. It's a little broccoli. It's Friday. Fancy Brian, going to need your help. Cut number 1. We're going to take this country back.
That is why this November we're going to stand up to this left-wing fascism, and we're going to take back our freedom. We're going to take back our country in November.
Take back our country.
Talk about some projection. I mean, these guys are the kings of projection, kings and queens, projection. You know, that's just what they do. Gaslighting, they gaslight, they project. I mean, this is classic work by these Republicans, man. This is exactly how it's done.
Are we supposed to believe you as a credible sort? You're clearly part of the radical left. At least
Is
according
that
to
what
Trump. Let's keep going. Cut 2, if you would. Fancy Brian.
The radical left movement that is attacking our nation is driven by a spirit of anger and hatred that most of us can barely comprehend or understand. Did you ever see such hatred toward us? And all we want to do is a good job. We want nice homes. We want great education for our children. We want strong military. We want strong police.
And to wipe our asses with the U.S. Constitution.
And we want to stay in power forever, regardless of what you little people and your little votes want. That's what we want. But no, it's the radical leftists that are the fascists, not the coup organizers and those who actually attacked the government and actually stopped the peaceful transfer of power, although briefly.
Well, Dominic, I'd like to call you a extremist. If you would, please play more Trump calling Dom an extremist. Cut 3.
These extremists are consumed by resentment, envy, intolerance, bigotry, malice, and even rage against nature itself. This is not just a political problem. This is a spiritual problem.
Here we are out here in the wilderness, raging against the machine and Mother Nature, apparently.
Guerrilla radio mofos. Come on, man. Really? And of course, it's a luck. Yeah, because Trump is your spiritual guide. I mean, this is a faith and freedom. I mean, Trump? Really? Trump? The dude held the Bible upside down in front of a burnt out church after, tear gassing a peaceful crowd of protesters and then lied about it and held the Bible upside down. I think that might be an Antichrist thing. I'm not familiar with your book entirely, folks, but this is the guy you're going to worship? Wow.
Well, Dom, I think the entire audience knows by now you are an atheist, a heathen, if you will, a soulless cretin. But Donald Trump would say, guys like you have made politics your religion. Play it for the people. Cut 4.
For the radical left, politics has become their religion. It has warped their sense of right and wrong. They don't have a sense of right and wrong. True and false, good and evil. You saw the Russia hoax that we all went through for
Russia.
2.5 years.
It's all a hoax, right? I think he also mentioned today that we do not have the sound. The insurrection hoax. Everything's a hoax, right? It's the Russia hoax. It's the insurrection.
Fake news media
hoax.
Covering the hoax that is the insurrection, because what you saw on your TVs on January 6th, that didn't really happen.
That was a hoax, right?
Just some peaceful, cheerful people come down to hug it out. Hug it out, the Capitol. Did you see, Dom, another guy got charged today for bringing a revolver with hollow point bullets down to the U.S. Capitol. You know how he got caught, Dom?
Oh, you mean there were weapons and guns and at the peaceful protests that got out of hand?
Well, there was this guy's gun until he apparently lost the weapon at the thing before he went off and stole a club away from a cop and beat the cop with it, and then stuck the club in his car and drove it all the way back to Ohio, I believe it was.
I gotta have a keepsake, man. It's like catching the drumstick at a rock concert.
But then the guy called the FBI and claimed he'd lost the handgun that Fancy Brian and I speculated, because he said he had his name all over it. I figure he got one of those label makers and put labels on there. And so anyways, he called the cops and said, I'm at a casino in Ohio and my gun's gone. Someone stole my gun. This was apparently 2 days after the big J6. And it was that call to the FBI that tipped them off that he might have been, present at the big January 6th insurrection.
Wow, that's not very smart.
So they scooped this guy up, and the investigators from the FBI, they start questioning the man. And the man says, Well, my only regret is I didn't get to meet Nancy Pelosi, because you'd be picking me up on entirely different charges then.
What's mega? So Fancy Brian's got a label maker, and his label says mega idiot. yes, indeed. Trump, Crudy, he wasn't done. Some other things that this idiot had to say, quote, and I will say one thing they don't talk about. They never show the size of the crowd. I believe it was the largest number of people I've ever spoken to, Trump said, presumably referring to the Stop the Steal rally that preceded the riot. I'm not talking about the very small percentage of people that went down to the Capitol, many of whom did nothing wrong. They're paying a big price because of this horrible situation that's taking place. Trump
they're being criminally charged with, seditious conspiracy and other acts of violence in many cases.
Trump continued to harp on the alleged crowd size of the rally and even claimed that his crowd was just as big, if not bigger, than Martin Luther King Jr.'s crowd during his I Have a Dream speech in 1963.
That was a hoax, right?
What?
Bigger than the
hell?
I Have a Dream speech.
Yes.
And like 3 of them went to the Capitol and were just bad apples, set a bad example for the rest.
Also, Trump was out there today teasing a presidential run. Hey, you guys think I should run for president? Just doing anything to get the crowd to clap and cheer for him. And he also mentioned that perhaps if he were elected president, once again, God help us all, that he would pardon the insurrectionist bastards that are all being charged and held right now.
I believe it was Rudy caught by the Danish documentarian. No, Roger Stone, my bad. And they were apparently driving away. I feel like might have been Inauguration Day, the day that Joe Biden did literally become the president, over the objections of Ted Cruz and a few Trump supporters. And the documentarian basically caught on videotape Roger Stone saying Trump should have given us all pardons. The fact that we didn't get the pardons means that he's going to spend a lot of time in prison. And, I don't think that's projection, Dom.
No, you think that's actually a little bit of truth from Roger Stone?
Well, who was it? We found out John Eastman wanted to be put on that list, Dom. Apparently the good list or the really bad list. Please give me a pardon so I can be on the good list. And Santa still brings me something other than coal for Christmas. The pardon list. Well, that would have been the gift that kept on giving. But Trump, didn't he collect enough money? Wasn't there enough quid pro quos being offered to him? Couldn't cash out enough for the pardons to be extended to, just a couple thousand.
Well, you got to wonder. I mean,
January
some of
6th insurrection.
Proud Boys and whatnot, probably still hanging on hope that maybe Trump gets elected and maybe he will give them a pardon eventually. But I wouldn't count on that, folks. You might want to plea and do your time because Trump isn't coming to save you.
Sorry, I don't have time for my trail. Got a big book tour coming up.
I'm so busy.
Can we do it next year? More devils.
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
That was a hoax, right?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
They say singing can help you remember things, so here's some tips for parents out there during these tough times.
Number 1,
Make sure your kids wash their hands for 20 seconds after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside.
2,
Virtual play dates, social and physical distancing can help save lives.
3,
Tell them they're safe and show your love and pride. Yes, we'll get through this together. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at P4PPC.org.
Cardall put out these weird, sad videos interviewing incapacitated elders in their nursing homes that don't have the ability to say, don't use me as your political prop.
If they are what you say they are, then you shouldn't be doing it how you did it.
Yes, it was the kids using the parents as props. Well, my old man hasn't talked since 76. Of course, he would have voted for Trump. That's the evidence. Videos. People that can't talk.
It is wrong. It's absolutely wrong.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
When they go low, we get high. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It's the 420 break. Light them if you got them. Join us on the phones, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, the opinion crew over at the Washington Post offered their opinions individually about whether Donald Trump will run for election once again, run for president. I'm going to get to that in a moment. I want to point out coming up Tuesday, and apparently the time has been set for high noon Central Time, the next J6 committee hearing. We will broadcast it live right here on Devil Radio and the Shod next Tuesday. I believe that's the 21st. And then there will be a daytime June 23rd. That's Thursday. And then next weekend, Dom, is the Democratic Party Convention, great state of Wisconsin. Our old stomping grounds, La Crosse, man.
Yeah.
So next week, I'm going to broadcast Thursday, Friday, and then a special event broadcast Saturday from the Democratic Party Convention. I've got a quick note here from Democratic Party Chair Ben Wickler. Dems to offer a sharp contrast to the GOP at the state convention.
You think?
We'll see. State Dem Chair Ben Wickler cites a noticeable difference at his party convention next weekend compared to the Republicans' May event. That was up the street in Middleton at the Marriott. They didn't offer endorsements, did they? Dems are trying to eat their own. Is that the contrast? With no endorsement process, little drama is expected when the Dems gather in La Crosse. Buddy, I'm going to make sure some drama happens in La Crosse.
Come on, man.
I will stir some drama if necessary.
No, I mean, you're drama enough as it is, crew. Just have a good time, man. It's La Crosse. Hopefully they don't have wanted posters of you up there still.
Still? I'm going to have to go see our buddy Rudy over off 4th Street, right? With no endorsement process, little drama ahead of the Dems gathering in La Crosse, June 24th and 25th, ahead of the midterm elections. Now, let me check for a second. Somebody's got the dates wrong. It's the 25th and 26th, folks. I know, I've got the hotel room. So, Wisp Politics, come on, make sure you get your stuff right. I mean, it'd be better. I'd actually prefer a Friday-Saturday convention, but it's a Saturday-Sunday deal. Anyways, they also don't have nearly as many incumbents facing primary challenges. 13 Republicans to just one Dem. And there aren't debates over whether to decertify the 2020 election
Come on.
or admonish a party leader. Well, I'm gonna see if we can. I'm gonna make a motion. We should admonish a party leader.
You should start the lock him or lock her up chant, Curdy. I mean, that'll
Lock
go
him
well.
up. Lock him up. Doesn't matter who, just random.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think it matters anymore. I mean, this is a different crowd, though. I forget. My apologies.
Instead, Wickler says the public will see and hear if you tune into Devil Radio in the Shaw, because I'm going to play it out for you, folks. A party that's fired up and unified, fired up, ready to go down. I'm fired up. I'm going to be broadcasting from the 3rd CD. I'm going to be broadcasting from our old stomping grounds in La Crosse. And I'm going to have a good time every night post-show. I'm going to have a good old time, Dominic. Why don't you talk for a moment or maybe go to the phones?
Yeah, we'll get some.
967-2789. I just want to confirm that Crudy's right and Wisp Politics is wrong.
All right, 844-96-PARTY. It's Friday. We aired the grievances. Let's get to them. Nick from Madison, Wisconsin. You are up. Happy Friday. Nick, what do you got for us?
Hey, Nick.
Hey, happy Friday, guys. How you doing? How you doing? Glad you're right, Judy. Awesome. Yeah, my grievance is basically here. What I think is that people are so polarized right now. People think we are polarized, but that's because we look at social media, we look at the news, we look at, and you guys are pretty level-headed. I got to say that.
Well, one of us is.
You both are. Come on, but I think that 10% of people are pretty far right. 10% are very far left. Are very far right, very far left. Then there's 80%. Then there's something we can work with. I think we should all be working with the 80% and just find common ground. I think that will stop people. But the thing is, the 10% on either side, they are all the ones who get all the news. They are all the ones who get on the news. They are all the ones on social media. They are all the ones who shout people down. So the 80% who are just trying to live their lives and just be happy, they just shut up and they vote and they decide however.
Well, Nick, here's I hate to quibble with your math, but I've thought about this math. Like, how appealing are the devil's advocates? If you assume, very appealing, no doubt. But if you assume 35% of the nation, they're still MAGA. I mean, more than half the Republican Party still believes the election was rigged. They still believe the big lie, Nick. So unfortunately, we've got to write off like 35% of our countrymen because they're not going to be convinced as long as Donald Trump's out there at conventions like this Freedom Function, whatever it's called, telling people it was stolen, telling people, America will never be great till you make me president again. So first and foremost, I think it's going to be hard to make your math work because it's a much smaller portion of the electorate that's actually open-minded. But above and beyond that, I think finding common ground, sure, man. I think there's plenty of common ground to be had. But here's the part I take issue with. You talked about the 10 and the 80 and the 10. Well, we pulled Fox News statistics yesterday. Roughly 90% of the American people believe in most of the steps in meaningful gun control that I would advocate for. 80 to 90% of the people. But 10% of the people, apparently this very minute minority, which is entirely Republican state lawmakers and Congress people and U.S. senators, they block the nation from moving forward. And you can bestow that same sort of credibility to AOC or whoever you perceive the 10% on the left to be. But the 10% on the left are not stopping progress. They're not violently threatening anyone on the right currently. So I don't think it's a both sides do it kind of circumstance. But Nick, you're one of the reasonable ones, level-headed-ish, more on the Dom side than the crude side.
Thanks, Nick.
More devil's advocates. Come back with us. Air your Friday grievances. Crudy's always right. June 25th and 26th with Dems in La Crosse. I'll be there. I'll broadcast it.
Undecided voters are the biggest idiots on the planet. Try giving short, simple answers.
Loud noises! It sounds interesting to me.
I am once again asking you to listen to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM. I believe they have the moral fiber to create a progressive movement in Wisconsin and indeed in America.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
The U.S. House of Representatives Select Committee on January 6th are continuing to hold a hearing on the panel's 10-month investigation. Tune into 92.7 FM and the Devil Radio app as we broadcast the hearings live. The hearings will present previously unseen evidence and testimony from the Select Committee's investigation into the Capitol insurrection. Gavel-to-gavel coverage for the Select Committee public hearings live right here on 92.7 FM and the Devil Radio app.
Listen to the Empowered Caregiver Show each Saturday and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. with hosts Liza Hellenbrand and Kristen Voss.
Right here on Devil Radio 92.7, WTTN 1580 AM, and the Devil Radio.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. A third person has died from the shooting at a potluck supper at a church near Birmingham, Alabama. Captain Shane Ware did not name the suspect, but said he is 71 years old and has attended services at the church.
The suspect is currently in custody at the Vestavia Hills Police Department and will remain here while warrants for capital murder are issued by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office later today.
Ware says the suspect and the three victims were all white. Prosecutors have accused a Las Vegas man of committing a hate crime by killing one person and wounding five at a mass shooting last month at a Taiwanese American church luncheon in California. Coy Griffin, who founded the political group Cowboys for Trump, was sentenced to 14 days behind bars for joining the mob that attacked the Capitol in January of last year. It's time already served. Griffin is also an elected official who was a central figure in a New Mexico county's refusal to certify recent election results based on debunked conspiracy theories about voting machines. Today in Kyiv.
Dobry dzień, everybody. I'm Boris Johnson from London, and I just want you to know that we support you. Slava Ukraini.
The British Prime Minister met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and said evidence points to Russia taking heavy casualties in the invasion.
Good luck and congratulations on destroying all these Russian tanks.
The European Union's executive arm recommended putting Ukraine on a path to membership. Regulators authorized the first coronavirus shots for infants and preschoolers, paving the way for vaccinations to begin next week. FDA Commissioner Robert Kalish says too many kids are dying from the virus.
Statistics like these are unnerving. By vaccinating our youngest children, we hope to prevent the most devastating consequences of COVID, by extension, providing benefits to their families and communities.
This is AP News.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. Masks will be optional for students, staff, and visitors in the Madison School District building starting June 20th for summer school, according to an announcement on Wednesday. The Madison School District was one of the last districts in Dane County and Wisconsin to still require masks to be worn indoors. The decision to drop the mask requirements came after continued review of current local COVID-19 metrics, recent federal Center of Disease Control and Prevention guidance, and the unanimous recommendation of the school district's team of medical advisors. The district continues to strongly encourage all eligible individuals to get vaccinated against the virus. A Sauk County woman pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 30 months in federal prison earlier this week for her role in conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine. She was receiving packages of methamphetamine through the mail from a man in Arizona, where she kept some for personal use and the rest was sold in or around Sauk County. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Think you know politics? Think again. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. TGIF. Got Dominic on the Zoom screen. I got Vance Bryan in the show. I got Evan in the world headquarters. Lightly screen the calls, and we can take you as well at 844-967-2789. Dom, quickly, I've got a response to Trump's appearance from the DNC. DNC response to Donald Trump's remarks at the Faith and Freedom Road to Majority Conference. Don't forget, that's the FFRMC. Anyways, today, Donald Trump delivered remarks at the Faith and Freedom Road to Majority Conference in Nashville, Tennessee. Will that be the site of the RNC, or will it be in Milwaukee, Dom? We'll see. Here's a statement. Donald Trump took the stage at the Faith and Freedom Conference today to double down on the same conspiracy theories that led to the January 6 attacks on the U.S. Capitol. Instead of taking even an ounce of responsibility, Donald Trump unsurprisingly used his platform to push dangerous lies, downplay the violent attacks, and spread his toxic MAGA agenda. The defeated former president did not mince words as he made clear that he is the leader of today's Republican Party. I think he is.
He absolutely
No, I don't take
is.
responsibility at all.
No responsibility at all. And, I guess good for him. He finally got his equal time, right?
Of sorts. Dom, the question being posed over at the Washington Post at this hour, the columnists, they polled them all. And they asked, will Donald Trump run for president again? And of the 12 columnists polled, we got 7 yeses and 5 nos. Now, I would put myself in the yes column. And Dom, we know what's your answer.
I say no.
Trump will not run again. We'll take your answers on the phones momentarily. Be patient. 844-967-2789. I'd like to throw a little of this out there. I'd like to hear people's opinions as well. And here's another one, Dom. Another prediction I need from you. Will Joe Biden run for re-election?
He's already indicated as such, so I have no reason to think that he wouldn't. But, we'll see what happens, man. Health is a thing, especially as you get up there. We'll see.
The rumors are ricocheting in every direction. Yes way. No way. Now, never. Not to mention the healthy contingent of no clue. I'm going to put you in that column, Dom. The subject, whether Donald Trump will run for president again in 2024. Barring a crystal ball, there's only one way to find out the former guy's plans for sure. So we again assembled our crack team of post-pundit power rankers. Is that like Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles? And plumbed their ultimate infallible wisdom for an answer to the question, will Trump run? So I'm going to give you one from each column, Dom. Molly Roberts says yes. He hated the job, but he loved the attention. The only way Trump could stop people from saying he's a loser is to win again. And while he could just claim credit for the victory of someone he anoints, could he really bear the spotlight shining on anyone except him? Besides, the list of alternatives is slim enough that some conservatives may think the former commander-in-chief is their best shot, with enough people telling him that he alone can fix it. Trump and his ego might not be able to resist.
Crudy, I'm going to go with Eugene Robinson here. No, Trump will pretend to run, and he might even at some point announce that he's running. But the question is whether he will actually run for president again, and I think not. He won't risk losing yet again. And besides, being a former president is less hassle and more fun than actually having to pretend to listen to all the boring officials and members of Congress and generals with all their uninspiring issues. Emperor in exile is a role that suits Trump, and he still gets to run the Republican Party and make supplicants abase themselves for his amusement.
I want to jump down to our pal, Jennifer Rubin. We often quote the former conservative columnist, and I think she's often on the money, at least in regards to Trump. So here's what she says. Yes, Trump will announce his run, if for no other reason than he craves the limelight and thinks it'll be harder for authorities to prosecute an active candidate. I think that's all the reason he needs, Tom. Get out of jail free. He's got the built-in excuse, political witch hunt. They're trying to take me out before I win again. Again, according to Rubin, that does not mean that when 2024 rolls around, he'll still be in the race and on the ballot. By then, health or legal complications or fear of losing might cause him to reconsider. Dom, I think he's absolutely running again for the get-out-of-jail-free card, the limelight. He's the ratings machine. And
he might be in jail before he runs again.
Well, he'll be fine, at least until later, because, if you got a book tour or a campaign to run, you get a get out of trial free card, don't you, Peter Navarro?
One more here. I'll jump out here, Crudy. Greg Sargent. No. What Trump's embrace of the big lie shows above all else is how much he hates to lose. Trump not only knows he lost in 2020, but he also knows he won in 2016 only because of a string of flukes. He faced an unexpectedly weak candidate after their party had held the White House for 2 terms. Risking a second loss to Biden is unthinkable. It would confirm his decisive rejection by the public, and Trump would be even less likely to defeat a fresh face should Biden decline to run. He knows that too.
Here's my prediction. Trump's going to Florida, and he's going to declare probably somewhere on Ron DeSantis's block. Wherever Ron's at, he's going to go there and counter program. He would not let Ron DeSantis, a guy built up, he's not going to let him be the Republican nominee. Now, DeSantis doing quite well in the straw polls we've seen them, and lots of people moving on to the, less Trumpian, more fascistic DeSantis. But ultimately, dude, I think he's running. And here is the only good thing I can say about Donald Trump. And I've used this analogy before, I think once to Tony Evers. An enemy of my enemy is my friend. And in that light, if Donald Trump goes down to Florida and wrecks Ron DeSantis's political career, kills him in the fascistic crib, if you will, it might all be worthwhile, Dom.
Well, I have no doubt there will be all sorts of right-on-right violence, political, quote-unquote violence. I don't think they're actually fighting in the streets, but certainly the right-on-right angst is a thing, and it's happening, and it's going to continue to happen, and it's going to get worse. And let's not forget, Trump doesn't just have the J6. He's got all sorts of headwinds facing him right now. He's got the attorney general in the state of New York, right?
The man lives in chaos.
He's got the Georgia the Fulton County DA, those Georgia officials, the Secretary of State from Georgia, Brad Raffensperger, and his deputy, I believe his name was Gabe Sterling. They're going to be testifying this coming Tuesday at the J6 hearing on the 21st of June, next Tuesday. So that whole thing is still up in the air. He's got so many problems, Crudy, and any one of those things blowing up would just destroy his candidacy.
99 problems, but that ain't one. 844-967-2789. Dick, our pal from Madison. Welcome back, Dick. What do you got for us?
Hi, Dick.
Well, I don't have a grievance today, but I do agree with Tom. I don't think he's going to run again.
Well, now I got a grievance, Dick. Go ahead.
Oh, well, but I will say this. He's still the MFIC of the party, and I can't say that on the air, obviously. But my question to you guys is this. Is it just me? I haven't noticed very much pushback from the usuals on this January 6th thing. The usuals locally or nationally. And I guess I would have to say that has to be because it's pretty hard to push back against every single one of these people. What do they have in common?
They're all Republicans. Yes. So yes.
It's kind of hard to push back against that, isn't it? Have you noticed the usuals? Rubio, Cruz, where's Lindsey Graham defending his buddy now? You haven't heard a word. It's like radio silence. Where's CJ locally?
Oh, he's out there. He's listening, Dick, I suspect.
Well, yeah. Well, I know he's out there. He's out there chasing a fly ball that hasn't even been hit yet. But that's another story. Seriously, do you notice they're not here? They're just not here.
I did see Jim GYM Jordan speak actually pretty calmly the other day, and his impression was, well, this is nothing new here. We've all known this. This is really, so that was the only thing. But you're right. I mean, Lindsey Graham and I haven't heard a whole lot from them. I haven't jumped on their Twitter streams either, Dick. But usually, if they're going to be boisterous and have all sorts of controversial things to say, that would be all over the news. And you're right. It's how do you go against this iconic Judge Ludwig? Right. I mean, how do you fight back that guy? How are you going to hang Jacob, right? The attorney for Vice President Pence. I mean, these are your people.
Yep. And so I guess all I'm saying is I find it pretty interesting that none of them are speaking out. And like you said, maybe they are, but it's nothing like it normally would be all over the news. They'd be pushing back really hard normally. And it's,
oh, sorry to cut you short, Dick. Did you notice that they probably made a strategic mistake talking about Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans by not participating in the January 6th? Now, they whined and they ballyhooed the fact that Nancy didn't make it balanced and wah. But they also didn't have any insights, and they didn't have anybody in the room. I mean, all these hearings, all the way back to the impeachment. What happened? You get 5 minutes of one side and you get 5 minutes of the other. And they'd alternate between showboating and putting forth the alternative reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that here. And that's very much a strategic blunder on the Republicans' part. They could have prepared the talking points. They could have had someone inside the room. And they chose not to, because when Jim Jordan, who is potentially a witness or a defendant to be, when Kevin McCarthy tried to put Jim Jordan on the panel, I think Nancy Pelosi rightfully refused, right? Said, no, not this one. And instead of putting an alternative, I think Scott Perry was one of the other ones that was rejected, the guy that asked for a pardon, reportedly.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, this is a big blunder on behalf of the Republicans. And I saw some Republicans. I saw Jim Jordan on the first night, the prime time. He was on Fox News. He was out there. Oh, you know, I saw Steve Scalise. Oh, the country's so broke. Laura Ingraham went through this whole thing about people, homeless people dying on the streets and using drugs. And that wouldn't be a problem if we weren't wasting all this money on the J6. Don't you think, Steve Scalise? I mean, it's hard to push back. That was the strange perspective they took.
I think you're absolutely right. They could have had, even if it was, you know, certainly not maybe someone who was, you know, neck deep into the mega, but at least a Republican representative that would have, you know, reported back and had some credibility to push back. But now what you see is a J6 committee with two Republicans, a bipartisan committee, which is often reported incorrectly by conservative sources, a bipartisan committee that is united in holding those responsible, united in educating the American people on what actually went on and how this whole thing went down. And that in and of itself is compelling, because you don't get a chance to throw sand in the gears. You don't get a chance for someone to stand up and filibuster and talk about the inflation and gas prices and all whatever else you want to talk about, like CJ.
Dominic, Donald Trump, as part of his remarks, we've talked about, he was at this faith and freedom and whatever conference, right? And gave some speeches. The Washington Post reporting at this hour, in lengthy remarks, Trump lashed out at the committee, the J6 committee, right? Democrats and even his own former aides and allies, particularly former Vice President Mike Pence and former Attorney General Bill Barr. Mike did not have the courage to act, Trump said today at the Faith and Freedom Coalition event in Nashville. Barr, he added, did not support his efforts because he's afraid of being impeached.
He's afraid of going to jail.
Everybody's doing it. You'll be your turn soon, Trump. Not just the impeachment part, the other part. More Devils, more of your calls. We'll be right back.
Take responsibility.
$50, the Smales kid picks his nose.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
$50 more says he eats.
I alone can fix it.
Hey, everybody, we're all going to.
It's 4 a.m. and you're sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. If you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Taking your kids to their first baseball game. Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Douglas LaFollette, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Good to be here, Mike. Across the country, in most every state, the Secretary of State is the person who is in charge of the election. And we've seen lots of hanky-panky in Florida back during the Al Gore elections, in Ohio and Georgia and Arizona and Michigan.
We appreciate you coming around, sir.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstad at the Monaco Brewing Company, and I am proud to introduce you to Choice, our new pink grapefruit flavored hard seltzer. Choice was made in collaboration with Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin, and 5% of the proceeds from every can goes to support them and their fight for reproductive freedom. Choice hard seltzer tastes great and comes in at only 105 calories per can. Go to our website, MonacoBrewingCompany.com, to find where you can buy Choice Hard Seltzer.
Hey, man, time to be an all-star caregiver. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, be there emotionally and physically. Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open, taking your grievances, 844-967-2789. Make sure you stick around for the happy hour. You'll be very happy up in here. Our pal Maggie Dawn, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, friend of the Devil's Advocates, going to Zoom us up and join us on the radio.
One more headline made by Trump down at the Faith and Freedom Coalition gathering in Nashville. Former President Trump on Friday attacked the law enforcement officer who fatally shot Ashley Babbitt, a Trump supporter who was participating in the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol aimed at overturning the 2020 presidential. These were great patriots. They were policemen. They were firemen. They were soldiers. It was sailors. Yeah, but you're rooting against the actual Capitol police officer, and you're saying that somehow they screwed up by killing the insurrectionist. She's the true patriot. But the fact that there were cops in the crowd attacking other cops, you're being supportive of the insurrectionist cops, the good cops. Many good cops on your side is what you're saying. It's very confusing to me, Dom.
It's so very confusing. And the fact, listen, and did any of these people at the Faith and Freedom Conference, are you watching any of the testimony from, people of faith, right? Like the judge, like the attorney for Pence who was in prayer with Pence before and after? I mean, these are religious and spiritual people, and they have an issue with the guy who's speaking to you, reiterating the very same lies. And I don't know what you believe or what your God is telling you, but for you to applaud that man, especially knowing what we know, I mean, I absolutely cast judgment upon every one of you. 844-967-2789. Jeannie, we never judge you. Welcome. Happy Friday. What do you got for us?
Hey, Jeannie.
Hi, guys. Boy, I'll tell you something. He's going to run. He's a narcissist, and he looks at only himself. He doesn't care about anyone else but himself. He's got as long as he has his followers, look at Jim Jones, he's going to take them all down with him. Look at all of his followers. He's filled with hate, and he's going to take down anybody that gets in his way, and that's his way he's done it so far. And the Christians that are following, well, as far as I'm concerned, they're a bunch of frauds, because they really can't be Christians, or they'd be concerned about what he's done to our country and people and the lies that he said. So this guy is like a tornado or something that doesn't stop. Maybe you guys can think of a good storm name for him. He's never going to quit because he still has followers. And until those sons of guns start opening their mouths and they all try to protect our country, this guy's going to go right through the country. And until people say, we're not going to put up with this kind of crap, he's really a fraud, because if he still has admirers, that's all he's there for. Oh, and look how they kissed his feet. I mean, it made me so sick to see the people from Wisconsin, his first group that was around him, oh, you're the best president. Oh, you're wonderful. And as long as he has that coming, oh, we believe in you. Oh, you really did win, Mr. President. You know what I mean? And then the way he spews and the people that come out there, those people that go out there and follow him, they got some issues, significant issues and personality deficits, that they will follow a man and just believe only what he says. And the minute anybody turns against him, man, watch out, he's the enemy. So this guy's got a hold, and he's got a tight hold. The least he's on that Galdane TV, the least he's on any kind of social communications, until they shut that guy up, put him in prison, he's going to have strength that nobody else can believe, because the people that are following him are mesmerized by him. And they won't listen to anything on the outside, and they're just caught up with it, just like Jim Jones. And they
Like a herd mentality.
Yes, and he's like their God. Oh, he's the savior. Oh man, this guy's so great. I mean, all the stuff he's come out and things that have come out about him, they don't even look at it because they look at him because you know why? He says they're in this together. He tweeted them at their homes. They never had a president tweet them. When I saw that on Saturday Night Live, I thought, we're gone. That's it. That guy has made a bond with people that nobody else has. They feel special. They feel he loves them. And look at that. He just kicks butt for us, but they don't realize he's not kicking butt for them. He's kicking it for himself. They cannot get that through their head that Trump really doesn't care about them. And until they figure that out, we're up the creek without a paddle. And I hate to be negative on it, but I think enough people are waking up, but they need some strong psychologists on the side of the people that are anti-Trump. So anyway, thanks, guys. I didn't mean to go on and on. Wow. Unbelievable that guy is. So have a great weekend, okay?
Thank you, Jeannie.
Too.
Try to sneak one more call in here at least. 844-967-2789. Big Mac from Madison to all be Patty's special sauce, lettuce, cheese. Welcome to the show, Big Mac.
Hey, Mac.
Come on, guys. Cue the Welcome Back Cotter theme for me. Come on. Da, da, da. Welcome back. Make me have to sing it, then everybody will tune out.
To all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and let me see bun.
Would you take that?
Yeah. Hey, man. You know, I'm breaking my silence today, so be careful what you wish for, because I'm going to be calling in now. I think this is what it took, is for mainstream to really pump this narrative of Trump being the crazy maniacal liar, which we already knew, but like now it's like, I mean, to cover these trials on all the networks at once and everything it's getting. I mean, most people are going to see some of this now that, you know, that only watch the right. It's still going to sneak through because the right kind of didn't put it together. The little clips they might show, you know, at first they said it was just Antifa there on January 6th. And I've got a theory that I know is really true, because I've had a few Trump people tell me that they think that Trump, once again, is just so genius that he knew that there was so much fraud that he didn't care about breaking the law. He was doing the right thing for the country because he knew that the fraud that he saw, which, by the way, you never see anybody present this. And you don't see the panel asking for it either, which is a little weird, because maybe they are afraid to look at anything of it because it might go down a rabbit hole, like the Dominion claim that supposedly Trump had prior to January 6th. See, so it was weak. Barr looked at it. You notice the panel they don't grill Barr on what it was. They just look at what Barr said of it. And I know it's bogus, but it doesn't matter to his supporters, because they think and the people that were listening to him, following him, they knew about these claims that were false, because that's why they were there. It wasn't like Trump just made it up out of the blue. Hey, Pence, switch the votes. They knew why. Why was because they believed Dominion, people like Alex Jones and the further right before Fox got it were saying it. And then, by the way, fast forward to now, they don't care about this now. You know why? Because now they think it really is true. And Trump was a genius. He knew it all along. See, that's the magic of Trump, that he can rationalize even breaking the law because he's doing it for the country, because he knew it was really a robbed election. And now finally the evidence is there, even though it's not. But there's a lot more as it drip a year and a half later. There's a lot more drips of BS.
Got to cut you short, Mac. I think you've got a hell of a return.
Well
the
done,
returning
sir.
champion, Big Mac. More of your calls. The Happier Happy Hour. And Maggie Dodd is next.
I'm an extremely stable genius.
That was a hoax, right?
The greatest radio show ever could be your greatest advertising investment ever. Partner with the Devil's Advocates and activate our loyal, educated, and engaged audience today. In-show interviews and sponsored special events considered across Wisconsin. Affordable digital and terrestrial ads available in Chicago and Minneapolis, and directly on the Devil Radio app. Make a deal with the Devils and get the Devil's Advocates bump to your bottom line. Call or text 844-967-2789 today.
Hey, this is Rocker, and June is Pride Month.
To celebrate, the Dark Horse is featuring the Pride Rocks cocktail. It's rocker vodka, Edinburgh rhubarb ginger liqueur, lemon, lavender extract, and it's yummy. A portion of the proceeds will benefit Fair Wisconsin, and you can find the Pride Rocks cocktail in June at the Dark Horse and Sal's Tomato Pies on Livingston and in Sun Prairie. You must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. A third person has died from the shooting at a potluck supper at a church near Birmingham, Alabama. Captain Shane Ware did not name the suspect, but said he is 71 years old and has attended services at the church.
The suspect is currently in custody at the Vestavia Hills Police Department and will remain here while warrants for capital murder are issued by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office later today.
Ware says the suspect and the three victims were all white. Prosecutors have accused a Las Vegas man of committing a hate crime by killing one person and wounding five at a mass shooting last month at a Taiwanese American church luncheon in California. Coy Griffin, who founded the political group Cowboys for Trump, was sentenced to 14 days behind bars for joining the mob that attacked the Capitol in January of last year. It's time already served. Griffin is also an elected official who was a central figure in a New Mexico county's refusal to certify recent election results based on debunked conspiracy theories about voting machines. Today in Kyiv.
Dobry dzień, everybody. I'm Boris Johnson from London, and I just want you to know that we support you. Slava Ukraini.
The British Prime Minister met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and said evidence points to Russia taking heavy casualties in the invasion.
Good luck and congratulations on destroying all these Russian tanks.
European Union's executive arm recommended putting Ukraine on a path to membership. Regulators authorized the first coronavirus shots for infants and preschoolers, paving the way for vaccinations to begin next week. FDA Commissioner Robert Kalish says too many kids are dying from the virus.
Statistics like these are unnerving. By vaccinating our youngest children, we hope to prevent the most devastating consequences of COVID, by extension, providing benefits to their families and communities.
This is AP News. Florida's governor says no to children's vaccines.
Even though Republican Governor Ron DeSantis said the state would not order and distribute the COVID-19 shots for children under 5, the White House says Florida doctors will be able to directly order the vaccines for young children from the federal government. Florida was the only jurisdiction in the nation to decline to place advance orders for the pediatric shots, which received the okay from the FDA. Final authorization from the CDC is expected soon, clearing the way for the last remaining unvaccinated age group to be eligible for the shots. I'm Shelley Antler.
2 white Florida men have been charged with a federal hate crime for allegedly beating a black man in a store parking lot while yelling racial slurs. The pair had already been charged with assault and battery under state law for the November attack in a store parking lot north of Tampa. I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
Dad is the smartest guy.
You know what? I'll tell you something. There's nothing better than a hot sausage, couple 2-3 cold beers, and Devil Radio on the box.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
The U.S. House of Representatives Select Committee on January 6th are continuing to hold the hearing on the panel's 10-month investigation. Tune into 92.7 FM and the Devil Radio app as we broadcast the hearings live. The hearings will present previously unseen evidence and testimony from the Select Committee's investigation into the Capitol insurrection. Gavel-to-gavel coverage for the Select Committee public hearings live right here on 92.7 FM and the Devil Radio app.
Brian, what the heck are you doing?
I'm making a patio.
When I told you it was patio season, I didn't mean we had to make one of our own.
But I got all this grout all over me now.
Yeah, but I meant we need to go see Hawk at the all-new Jade Monkey on Cottage Grove Road. They've got an awesome patio, and it's the perfect place to stop for a cocktail after the show.
Jade Monkey has a patio? Why don't we go there?
Exactly. Now put down those power tools and let's go grab a drink.
That's all right. I was done anyway. Suck down, drink so we don't have to suck.
Listen to the Empowered Caregiver Show each Saturday and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. with hosts Liza Hellenbrand and Kristen Voss.
Right here on Devil Radio 92.7, WTTN 1580 AM, and the Devil Radio app.
With better reception than new tinfoil hats, why listen to any other station? 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, Madison's home for Devil Radio.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. Wisconsin Democratic lawmakers announced Thursday they once again plan to introduce a package of bills aimed to reducing the effects of climate change and supporting the clean energy transition despite opposition from Republican leaders. The climate and jobs package would seek to facilitate the transition from fossil fuels to clean renewable energy sources, as well as identify communities most vulnerable to climate change and a clean energy transition. It would create a fund for reducing the effects of facility closures or job layoffs in industries that rely on fossil fuels. It would also make a renewable energy program that would set a minimum goal for the amount of electricity that must be generated by a renewable source, as well as moving Wisconsin towards carbon-free electricity by 2040. Mostly sunny skies are in the forecast today with an expected high of 82 degrees. Winds up to 20 miles per hour with an overnight low of 52 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. And Dominic, we've been joined by a fine guest, friend of ours. She's Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, Maggie Dunn. How you doing, Maggie? Nice to see you, sister.
Hey, Johns. Happy Hot Friday here in the Badger State. Woo! It's a toasty one out there.
And to you as well,
Maggie. Not to digress for too long, but let me start with a digression. Earlier this week, our satellite dish. We do radio. We get satellite stuff off the satellite. It's all magic. I don't know how it works, but Brian does mostly. And this week, our satellite dish probably got hit by a tornado. It's in pieces. It's like 100 yards away from the pole in all different directions. So either we got hit by some amazing straight line winds or a tornado in Columbus, Wisconsin this week. So I've been dealing with that. I've been thumbing it out, so if I'm a little distracted or digress on the air, I apologize, sister. Those are the problems I live with.
Burdens of business ownership, indeed, sir. Best of luck with the big dish.
Yeah, big dish. Well, do you have any big dish for us, Maggie Dawn? I mean, we come on the air. Have you been watching the January 6th? Have you been watching the hearings? What has been your impression?
Yeah, so I watched the first two hearings almost in their entirety. I couldn't watch yesterday, but I read the coverage. I've watched clips. One of the most damning bits of testimony was, I think, unfortunately, written a bit academically or presented a little academically. It was the statement before the committee yesterday from former Judge J. Michael Luddig, who is a conservative jurist of impeccable credentials.
You know what I did not know, and we teased this guy. He was stop and start in his delivery of the material. I didn't know he was a recent victim of a stroke and made the public appearance despite this recent impediment.
Yeah, it's And I'm also going to offer this. I don't think he was just struggling with his physical, recovery and where his body is physiologically after the stroke. I actually got choked up like reading his testimony in written form. I mean, you guys both remember when I called in that day, and I was literally completely beside myself with horror and grief at what I was seeing. And I think part of the reason that I was so struck by it was not just as a lawyer, but as a lawyer who clerked for a federal judge, as a lawyer who's worked in government, who advises governmental officials. And there's one, if you guys don't mind, there's one particular portion of Luddig's testimony that is specifically about the responsibility that befalls and rests upon the shoulders of lawyers that advise elected officials. And he is speaking as a conservative, and it is an absolutely definitive indictment of Eastman, Giuliani, Sidney Powell, every single one of those that aided and abetted this president in conspiring to commit treason. And that resulted, and this is, he says this literally within the first sort of opening portion of his testimony. This will forever be a historical fact. On January 6th, the prescribed day for choosing the American president, there was not a peaceful transfer of power for the first time in American history. And he says that because Pence didn't certify Biden as the winner until the wee hours of the morning on January 7th. And so if you don't mind, I wanted to highlight this for your listeners simply because of my experience. It was probably the portion of his testimony that it stunned me to silence, because he said it out loud. And here's just a few sentences, if you all don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Maggie.
This is the judge testifying. Very few, and he's talking about lawyers here, very few ever have the honor of counseling the President of the United States of America. That highest of honors carries with it the highest of obligations. Counsel provided to the President of the United States must be the product of not only exquisite, penetrating legal analysis, but also profound, insightful legal judgment. These two combined are so far from mere technical legal competence as almost to be its polar opposite. The president and the country deserve nothing less from those who counsel the president. So consequential are the stakes for the nation when the president acts upon the advice of his or her counsel. Whatever else, the president of the United States did not receive such counsel during his sustained effort to overturn the 2020 presidential election. And here is the kicker. He doesn't let the president off the hook at all. He says this then, it is as much the former president's fault as anyone's that he did not. So in a very short amount of testimony, he basically says those who misadvised the president committed a grievous wrong against the citizenry of the United States and our democracy. And he says, but just because this guy got crappy legal advice does not excuse him from the consequences of his terrible decision-making. He goes on, from their inception, the legal arguments that underlaid the efforts to overturn the 2020 election were, in that context, little more than beguiling and frivolous, perhaps appropriate for academic classroom debate, but singularly inappropriate as advice to the President of the United States of America in his efforts to overturn the presidential election. It is breathtaking that these arguments were even conceived, let alone entertained, by the President of the United States of America at that perilous moment in history. Stunning. And it gave me, for the briefest of moments, a glimmer of hope that someone who is extraordinarily far from me politically and probably what our values are and what we think should be the governing principles of this nation. But in this, myself and Judge Ludwig agree that when you are a lawyer advising elected officials, you take that as a solemn obligation, not to be trifled with. And it's not just about getting it technically accurate. It's about the judgment that you bring to bear in executing those duties. Certainly, I'm nowhere at the level of advising the President of the United States, but I have always taken my obligation to advise elected officials extremely seriously. And it means that sometimes I have to tell them the stuff they don't want to hear.
Maggie Dawn, not to be trifling, but am I accurate in saying it's a coup at conception?
Yes. This is why, I mean, months ago, right? We've been talking about this, you guys, where I've basically said every single one of these lawyers that presented any of these arguments should all lose their licenses. We swear an oath to the Constitution when you become a lawyer in any state in our union. And as soon as you articulate a way to undermine the will of our voters, to undermine an election, you have avowed to take down the American democratic system. I don't know any more clear of a violation of your oath as an attorney than that.
Maggie, I was struck by the judge's other statements, specifically laying down in the road to stop anybody from trying to overturn the election. And he concluded, this conservative judge, by stating that this is still, as we speak, as he testified, a clear and present danger to this country. And we have Trump today at this Faith and Freedom Conference up there on the stage saying the same things over and over and over again. And it just strikes me that, if there is not some consequence to this, if there is not, a prosecution for these crimes, he's going to continue to do this. Maggie, are you any more confident today after the testimony, at least the first few hearings that we've seen, and apparently some cooperation going on between DOJ and the J6 committee as it pertains to some of the testimony they've received? How are you feeling about how this is all being presented as it's playing out right now, Maggie?
I think the hearings are really being brilliantly architected in terms of the vignettes and then tying them together and painting a picture of truly how horrifyingly close to a violent, sustained insurrection we had. I mean, we had the insurrection, they just lost, right? But Judge Ludwig, as you point out, Dom, turned the prism from a backward-looking one to this knife's edge that we stand on right now and said, this is a threat. This is a war that is continuing. And every single one of these enablers, these aiders and abettors to treasonous conspiracies it continues today. In my opinion, what President Trump did today is part and parcel of continuing criminal activity. The judge makes damn well clear. He basically says, if this isn't something that is universally condemnable, that we all can't say this is wrong, if we're wondering whether or not January 6th was an okay thing, reasonable political discourse, then that means that violent overthrow of our electoral processes is a completely fair option for the future. That's the clear and present danger he's talking about, and it is real. This is not hyperbolic. I'm one that likes to use hyperbole to make a point. And I would say perhaps during the first 2 years of Donald Trump's presidency, I was in my show maybe a bit hyperbolic. It ain't a hyperbole anymore.
Maggie Dawn, hardly ever hyperbolic, but we like her anyways. Devil's Advocates, come back with us. It's Friday. We air the grievances.
I don't like you because you're dangerous.
Catching up after work.
Guys, this round's on me.
You stupid.
You
said that? You really said that?
I knew you should have just seen them. Like, you should have been.
Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
But Tom, we've been following a couple of big stories this week. Truck convoy leader has no idea where he is and is driving in circles around I-495. He didn't know precisely where he was going anyways or where he was at the time. Apparently, he put the convoy back on the road, headed back up north, and he's back in Scranton. So
I totally would have protested this tyranny, but damn, the traffic was so bad.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Our pal, Maggie Dawn, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, joining us, sticking around. Thank you, Maggie. Always great to talk and catch up with you, my friend. The criminal portion, I know you said we didn't really get to that part of it. And I want to talk about Gableman here in a little bit too, but I want to give you an opportunity to respond to the criminal prosecutions portion of this and how the DOJ and the committees are working together.
Yeah, I think I've made this argument both on my show back in the past and here with you gentlemen, and that is oftentimes district attorneys, criminal prosecutors, whether federal or state prosecutors, basically their calculus is I won't file charges, I won't prosecute charges unless I'm basically certain I'm going to get a conviction. This is done because many district attorneys have political ambitions. It looks really bad when you lose things, et cetera, et cetera. The history of prosecutions in this country of those that have been charged with seditious conspiracy is not good. Think sort of the Branch Davidians, right? And these weird militias and stuff. There was a prosecution in Michigan, I think in the early 80s. There was another one that was fairly recent, where the evidence, when you look at it from a historical perspective, was simply overwhelming of guilt. But the way that the crime of seditious conspiracy is defined in the law is kind of tricky, right? Because we don't prosecute people for thoughts, even the most offensive thoughts. We don't prosecute people for extremely offensive speech. So when does having a ton of weapons, saying really crazy stuff, start to look like conspiracy? What are the acts in furtherance of a seditious conspiracy? In any case, these two prosecutions resulted in acquittals. So the federal DOJ has been, I would say, skittish in its approach to much of the white power, neo-Nazi, crazy governmental overthrow, weird guys in camps sort of problem that we've seen. It's been nascent for many decades, but is now right, the quiet part's out loud now when you talk about crazy white dudes with guns. I hope that the DOJ prosecutes every last one of these people, just like the January 6th hearings are extraordinarily important from a historical record perspective, even if it changed not a single mind, and they will change some people's minds. It's important to do that for the sake of history. Likewise, I think it's important from a jurisprudential history point of view to say, these people have to be prosecuted. Giuliani has to be charged with a crime. He was part of the conspiracy. And ultimately, I think Donald Trump should be charged with a crime. Mark Meadows, criminal activity. Eastman, he's committed crimes. I mean, when you've got another lawyer telling the guy the very day after January 6th, like, you better get yourself a really good criminal lawyer. And his response to that is, "Dear Donald Trump, can you please put me on the pardon list?" Like, yes, all of these people should be criminally prosecuted. And I want them to get convicted, but the prosecution is the point, right? Our standard for criminal convictions is beyond any reasonable doubt. And when we deal with crimes such as seditious conspiracy, and we are rightly concerned as a democracy that we should not have political or politicized criminal prosecutions, notwithstanding all that, you got to prosecute these people, and that includes the president of the United States.
Maggie Dawn, our fine guest, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. Maggie, if nothing else, it creates a transcript, it creates a record. But let me ask you about one that might be flirting on the edges. Let's call her Jenny Thomas. Supreme Court Justice Clarence.
Random, totally hypothetical, right?
Yeah, hypothetically, let's just throw her out there. If she were, let's say, emailing a former clerk to both Judge Ludwig, who gave testimony, said he'd lay in the road, and also clerk for her own husband, a guy named John Eastman, let's say. And Eastman was out there apparently leaking that there was angst amongst the members of the U.S. Supreme Court, almost like he had some sort of inside information. And now we find out he's been emailing with Jenny Thomas. Where do you draw the line? Is there criminality? Is it
just line her up. Let's start locking some people up. Lock them up, right? Like, lock them up. Here's the thing that blew me away. Like, after all that testimony tomorrow, what does John Eastman come out today and say? Of course, yeah, me and Jenny, yeah, there was lots of texting and communication going back and forth. But trust me, none of it was inappropriate. That's literally what his statement says. Trust me, take my word, no problem here.
But that's what Trump tells Melania. You know what I'm saying? Trust me is not very reassuring in either of those cases.
Lock her up. Lock her up.
Right?
Dawn, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, our fine guest. So, Maggie, do you sense criminality? I mean, just in the reporting we know about Jenny Thomas, she was emailing state lawmakers in Arizona, 29 of them. She didn't send one or two. It's not like she sent one to her lawmaker. She sent them to Arizona lawmakers. And she also apparently was conversant with the coup plotter, John Eastman, and apparently information was leaking back, or at least Eastman implied that he had insights into what was happening, the debate in the court. Would that be criminal? I mean, hell, if they leaked Roe v. Wade, someone's got to go to jail, right? Well, what is this, Maggie Dawn?
This is an extraordinary moment of hypocrisy, right? Like, they all lose their mind over the leaking of the Roe v. Wade overturning, but like the whole Eastman, Jenny Thomas thing, that's not a problem. It's just incredible. I think, yes, she should be criminally prosecuted. The whole thing sounds criminal, but I will say this. Here is yet another, like, the complete undermining of institutions in this country. This is the knife's edge of which Judge Ludwig speaks. The respect for the judicial system and the Supreme Court is at its lowest level in decades. You think this might be part of the problem? I mean, it's incredible, right? And let's not forget.
Man, let me stop you here. You got time to stick around. Can we keep you over?
Sure. Happy to do so, guys. Always.
Oh, I didn't know. Maybe you're coming down to the Friday Night Live in Waukesha. Everybody should. We're broadcasting there next. But more of the Devil's Advocates and our fine guest, Maggie Dawn, friend of the devil.
The only reason you get pardoned is you committed a crime. You can't obstruct a crime that was never committed.
So what I told you was true. Wrong, sir.
Miss your favorite show? Find our entire podcast library at devilradio927.com.
Proud AF at the Dark Horse Art Bar. Celebrate Pride Month with an art show featuring all LGBTQ plus artists who will showcase their artwork during the month of June. Check out local, national, and international artists and see their artwork in a wide variety of styles and mediums. The show runs through June 26th. Proud AF at the Dark Horse Art Bar and Gallery, 756 East Washington Avenue, online at darkhorsemadison.com.
Hey, this is Rocker, and I'm touching down at the Red Rooster to kick off summer with some live music and a Rocker lemonade. House-made lemonade, a splash of sour cherry, and your choice of Rocker vodka or Rocker rye whiskey. Kick the summer off at the Red Rooster with a Rocker cocktail. Find the Red Rooster at 2513 Seaforth Road or online at redroostermadison.com. You must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. A third person has died from the shooting at a potluck supper at a church near Birmingham, Alabama. Captain Shane Ware did not name the suspect, but said he is 71 years old and has attended services at the church.
The suspect is currently in custody at the Vestavia Hills Police Department and will remain here while warrants for capital murder are issued by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office later today.
Ware says the suspect and the three victims were all white. Prosecutors have accused a Las Vegas man of committing a hate crime by killing one person and wounding five at a mass shooting last month at a Taiwanese American church luncheon in California. Coy Griffin, who founded the political group Cowboys for Trump, was sentenced to 14 days behind bars for joining the mob that attacked the Capitol in January of last year. It's time already served. Griffin is also an elected official who was a central figure in a New Mexico county's refusal to certify recent election results based on debunked conspiracy theories about voting machines. Today in Kyiv.
Dobry dzień, everybody. I'm Boris Johnson from London, and I just want you to know that we support you. Slava Ukraini.
The British Prime Minister met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and said evidence points to Russia taking heavy casualties in the invasion.
Good luck and congratulations on destroying all these Russian tanks.
The European Union's executive arm recommended putting Ukraine on a path to membership. Regulators authorized the first coronavirus shots for infants and preschoolers, paving the way for vaccinations to begin next week. FDA Commissioner Robert Kalish says too many kids are dying from the virus.
Statistics like these are unnerving. By vaccinating our youngest children, we hope to prevent the most devastating consequences of COVID, by extension, providing benefits to their families and communities.
This is AP News.
From Up North News, I'm Pat Kreitlow with headlines and commentary from our daily newsletter. Paul Ryan got name-checked at the most recent hearing of the January 6th committee for having reached out to Vice President Mike Pence and assuring him he was doing the right thing by not doing what Donald Trump was demanding. You remember that whole trying to throw out legitimately cast votes thing? It was about that time that Ryan had already gone public attacking fellow Republicans, people like Ron Johnson, who were saying they were going to object to some states' electoral votes and throw the matter back to Republican-controlled state legislatures. We also have a newsletter story and video with a bit about Monday's Juneteenth federal holiday and its already long-running celebration in Wisconsin. And it's another record number of people employed in Wisconsin, even if your uncle keeps telling you nobody wants to work. You can get these stories and more in our newsletter. Sign up at upnorthnewswi.com.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Happier Friday Happy Hour. And I'm happy to tell you all, hey, we got a fine guest. She's stuck around Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, our good friend and colleague, Maggie Dawn, and also Friday Night Live. If you didn't know, we're broadcasting the Friday Night Live each Friday during the summer, except they take the fourth weekend off. So not Friday the 1st, but don't hold that against Crudy. All the other Fridays, we're broadcasting Friday Night Live right here on the Shaw, and later, 9 o'clock at night in Madison, because we have In Pursuit of Sunshine on the radio going out live at 7, and Native Roots will play at its normal time in Madison, but we're partying in the Shaw, and we're partying with Maggie Dawn. Maggie, appreciate you sticking around. Our buddy Pat Kreitlow just stole a little of my thunder. Paul Ryan did get name checked in the January 6th hearing yesterday, and name check because he called what the former vice president said, hey, if you didn't know, Mike, you really can't steal the election. That's not kosher, sir. So your impression, are either Paul Ryan or Mike Pence heroes here? Or are they just slightly less despicable than Donald Trump? Because they, in all reality, Mike Pence just didn't have the courage. And finally, Dan Quayle said, man, if you're still looking for an opinion from Dan Quayle after Paul Ryan, after the attorney Ludwig, federal judge Ludwig, I mean, Paul Ryan had his counsel, Mark Jacobs, saying you can't do it. Everyone said you can't do it. And he still called Dan Quayle and said, can I do it, Dan?
By the way, Mark Jacobs is a handbag and clothing designer. Pence's lawyer is Greg Jacobs. Yeah.
Same.
All comes out in the line.
Friday afternoon.
How many people does Mike Pence need to tell him that, like, you shouldn't commit treason and this is all garbage? So I have been adjacent to this phenomena before, which when someone is under an incredible amount of political pressure, they may very well know what the answer is, right? And we can't do that, or yes, we have to do this. But they want to surround themselves with enough other experts to sort of insulate from the person or the entity or the lobby that's applying the pressure. I can see that Mike Pence may have been doing this a bit, and that he wanted folks that were purely political operators on the conservative end of the spectrum, so he could say to Trump and all of his mindless minions, hey, look at all these people I asked, and they're all really good Republicans, and they're all down for the cause, and they all said that I couldn't do it. But again, Greg Jacobs was telling Pence this, and had to actually spell out, not only will you, if the Supreme Court picked up this issue, not only would you lose 9-zip, if the Supreme Court declined to take the case, Mike, if you did this, you would set up a constitutional showdown between Congress and the White House with no available or apparent means to settle that dispute other than violence. That actually had to be explained to the vice president. In other words, what he was saying is, don't expect the Supreme Court to save you from your own dumb decision making. You have to stand up and do the right thing.
Maggie Dawn, I'm sorry to interrupt, Maggie Dawn, our fine guest. Maggie, let me ask you. Greg, don't call him Mark Jacobs. Apparently, the former vice president's counsel did give testimony yesterday. And what he said was, effectively, after all the things that happened at the Capitol, and Pence wouldn't get in the car, and all the different testimony we heard, what I took away from that is Trump never called Pence or Karen Pence. Mother was there as well. Pence had his family in the room and still wouldn't get in the limousine, still didn't trust what the motive was to take him from the Capitol complex. So he was there in the same building where they were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." And despite all that, and of course, we now know the sentiment, Trump was probably back at the White House chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." But Trump never called Pence, never checked on him after the fact. And that apparently bothers even the white-haired, fly-loving Mike Pence.
Right. The absolute psychologically compromised obsession with self that is Donald Trump, right? Next to narcissism in the dictionary is like a picture of him, right? That in this moment, you would think that the president and the vice president might need to talk. Like, nope, doesn't happen. And the fact that these rioters, these insurrectionists, were mere feet from the vice president at certain moments in time. And on top of that, that Vice President Pence was the one that had to call the National Guard and the military. you can just envision the great orange idiot like cheering at the screen. We all know that's exactly what happened. Truly frightening. But no, Mike Pence is no hero. It's sort of like, yeah, getting a C in civics, like understanding that you can't actually overturn the will of 78 million voters. Like, that doesn't earn you cred. That earns you, thank you for not committing treason. You fulfilled your oath as the vice president of the United States, which should have been ministerial and perfunctory, right? This should have been not a big deal.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Maggie Dawn, Milwaukee County Corporate Council friend of ours and a woman of influence. Maggie, perhaps we'll get there in just a moment. I want to get to former White House Attorney Eric Hirschman. They played testimony from him yesterday, and he, testified about his conversation with Eastman and regarding this plot. Are you out of your effing mind? I was pretty blunt. You're completely crazy. You're going to turn around and tell 78 million people in this country that your theory is this is how you're going to invalidate their votes because you think the election was stolen. They're not going to tolerate that. You're going to cause riots in the streets. And Eastman's response, he said words to the effect of, there's been violence in the history of our country in order to protect the democracy or to protect the republic. So not only did Eastman know, as the testimony has shown, that this was wrong, illegal, fraudulent, whatever, he was also willing apparently to accept violence in the streets. And of course, that's exactly what we have, violence. People died, right? So I guess from a prosecution standpoint, Maggie, what else are we looking for to prosecute?
Right. So typically you can be charged for felony murder, even if you weren't the one that pulled the trigger, right? If a reasonable potential consequence of your actions, the affirmative steps that you did take, is that someone dies, you can be charged with felony murder. Guess what, John Eastman? Hirschman was right when he told you to get a damn good criminal defense lawyer. Yeah, I think charge Eastman for felony murder under some federal statute. This is how extraordinarily screwed up this was. Eastman was admitting in December that he knew that this was illegal, that this thinly sourced, barely any legal citations memo that got circulated amongst the crazed MAGA crowd couldn't meet constitutional muster. He admitted it before January 6th to Eastman that he would lose before the Supreme Court if they would take it up 9-zip. And yet he still was forwarding these arguments. That is absolutely bananas. The guy clearly committed crimes. And I think the fact that he asked for a pardon clearly shows you want the technical legal jargon? It evinces a consciousness of guilt. Yep, we're done here. I want the list of Congress people that ask for pardons, because you people should be criminally prosecuted too. Mark Meadows, you as well. Chief of Staff, McCarthy, MTG. I'm looking at you, Lauren Boebert. Where's Mr. Shirtsleeves Jim Jordan when you want to see him? Which is in shackles, pulled before a federal court. Lock him up.
Maggie Dawn, I got to ask you, John Eastman, the guy that's been featured, this coup plotter, he was in Wisconsin in April of this year, 2022, and he's still putting pressure on the elected Republican, the Assembly Speaker, Robin Vos, came to town to tell Robin Vos, you can still decertify the 2020 elections. Eastman's still plotting it. Earlier today, Donald Trump effectively almost said, hey, Mike Pence from the stage. The coup plot is still active. So am I being hyperbolic?
It's continuing criminal activity. It's sort of, there's a little bit of, well, clearly I can't be committing a crime because I'm doing it in the middle of Main Street, right? I'm doing it out in the open, so it's not criminal. No, it's still criminal. You just have a bunch of idiot Americans that don't want to hear truth. It's sort of like a collective amnesia / stupidity that's going on. It's just one of the most civically irresponsible, immoral moments of time for all of those that believe and are purporting to support this continuing line of garbage. And take it from not me or you guys, take it from Judge Ludwig, who calls it an immoral war, that the people that are forwarding these arguments are not only committing a crime against democracy, it is immoral. He's getting to a level in his testimony that really, really hammers these points home. And I don't have a lot of respect for the Hirschmans or the Greg Jacobs. These were the same people.
Are you sure it's not Mark?
Right, it's not Mark. These are the same lawyers that effectively allowed this to foment for a long time, right? And then all of a sudden, when the really bad thing happens, they're like, oh, well, actually, don't say that, don't do that. They're all trying to save their own reputations, but make no mistake, a whole bunch of these lawyers are back colluding with Republicans and conservatives, trying to get these people elected on similarly disingenuous, lie-filled garbage platforms that got us here in the first place. This complete division within our country, that starts with Nixon and Reagan, right? That is where these seeds of us versus them, good versus evil, the morality, the judgment that overlays someone who may disagree with you, that's where that started and is put by Judge Ludwig. This is the point. Though disinclined for the moment, as a political matter of fact, only the party that instigated this war over our democracy can bring an end to that war. That is from a Republican pointing at all other Republicans and saying, this is your fault, you did this, and you better solve it.
Maggie Dawn, okay, you've sold me. You're a hell of a litigator. You're doing a great job. But have you sold the silent majority, as Nixon would call them? Have you moved the needle? Talking about the J6 committee. Now, I know Fox News is not covering at least the primetime hearings. Apparently, they have started covering the daytime hearings. I think I shamed them. I think I guilted them into it. But Maggie Dawn, do you think the hearings are moving the needle of the electorate?
I think Republicans have to be grappling with the fact that there are some independents that will watch this, that will read coverage of it. And frankly, the highlight reels from these hearings are awful, right? Like, for the first time, Democrats and reasonable people actually are given good soundbite material, right? Like, that is winning the argument. Fox News not running it and going completely opinion commercial free for the entirety of the first hearing tells you that they are worried that this will change people's minds.
You know, some of us think that's real BS, Maggie Dawn. But we appreciate you coming around. You're going to stick around for the last one.
Yeah, we got some Gableman. You got a minute, Maggie? We got to get
for Justice Gableman. I sure do, Dom.
Most excellent. We are the Devil's Advocates. It is a Friday. We are airing our grievances with our pal Maggie Dawn. We know we got some callers. So we're going to get to Gableman on the next segment and perhaps some of your calls as well. 844-967-2789. And I think Maggie's coming down with a coin to buy me a birthday drink. Look forward to that. Folks, come back. One last segment. We'll be right back.
One down, one to go. Another town, one more show. One down, one to go. Another town, one more show.
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
My allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
Get over it.
COVID-19 vaccines are starting to become available across the country. Now is the time to get informed. Get the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. A message brought to you by the Ad Council and the CDC.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. That's right. They can help save lives by simply washing their hands. Just 20 seconds of thorough hand washing after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside can help fight against the dastardly spread of germs. Armed with only soap and water and hands, your superhero can protect you, your family, and everyone out there in America land. Amazing! Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Warning, listening to the devil's advocates may expose you to opposing views.
We've mentioned, inflation is going to be an issue. Let me ask you this. What would you like to see Donald Trump do if you were here? What did you suggest Biden do to address the inflationary pressures we're facing right now?
Well, I can't tell you that because that would be something you could counter and defeat Trump with, or the Republican Party. So tell you.
You think Trump's taking strategy from you on talk radio, Lou?
I mean, you're no Kid Rock, Lou.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstead of the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I'm excited to announce our new beer, AOC IPA. This IPA pays homage to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a champion of the progressive movement. AOC IPA is now available in stores throughout Wisconsin. Check our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to see which stores in your area are carrying it.
If you love them enough to barely sleep, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're in the right car seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates. So relevant, they have 1 foot in tomorrow.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, 844-967-2789. I know we have some callers, and we got our fine guest, Maggie Dawn, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. I want to see if we can get through a couple of topics here quickly. Maggie, thanks for sticking around. As mentioned before the break, former Justice, Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Gableman, corrupted, as Crudy likes to say, held in contempt in this American oversight. All they want are open records requests. My understanding, not only did Justice Gableman, take the fifth, he insulted the judge and assaulted the attorney, Krista Westerbrook, suggesting that she go back to the judge's chambers and he'll show her a good time. Essentially, Maggie, I mean, this guy is certainly contemptible. Please, what do you think?
Yeah. Let's not forget how former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman got to the court in the first place, right? He defeated 51% to 49% of the vote, the only Black person that has ever served on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, an extremely well-respected judge and legal-minded guy by the name of Louis Butler, former Justice Butler. One of the ads that Mr. Gableman ran is one of the most racist pieces of crap I have ever seen in a political ad. He put a picture of Justice Gableman smiling next to a picture of a Black man that had been convicted for rape and proceeded to put forth a series of half-truths. He's a disgusting man. He was disgusting then. He's disgusting now. Simply because you were elected to the Supreme Court conveys absolutely no integrity or impromptu of acute legal reasoning. The man is an idiot and immoral, unethical, and corrupt to the core. He refused to recuse himself numerous times from Supreme Court decisions when there was clearly conflict of interests. And he clearly has no respect for the court, period. This is not how lawyers comport themselves. And I'll say this as a woman. I am certain that the female attorney sitting across the aisle kicking his butt in court has heard much worse in the duration of her career. But that this man at this moment on these issues would stoop to such lows tells you he knows he's losing. Once someone starts attacking me, the way I look, my clothes, my weight, my hair, gosh, people will complain about damn near anything if you're a woman with an opinion and want to express it. As soon as someone starts doing that, I know I've beaten them. And Gableman showed us his hand perfectly. When you got no legal leg to stand on, when you got, what's the saying? When the law's on your side, pound on the law. When the facts are on your side, pound on the facts. You got neither the law or the facts, pound on the table. Those were the dying gasps of a corrupt and beaten, embarrassed man. For shame, sir.
Maggie, I'm so glad you snuck the corrupt part in there.
A couple of times. Appreciate it. We have some callers. Let's try to get some in. Maggie, you cool with that? All right, let's do it. Mark from the SAC, you've been holding the longest. Welcome, sir. What do you got for us?
Yeah, thanks. Hey, Maggie, I used to be a regular caller to your program. And I found a quote from Madison in Federalist 58. Ignorance will be the dupe of cunning and passion, the slave of sophistry and declamation. And I mean, it just points, and as well as Hamilton's warning in 75 about corrupt magistrates betraying the interests of the people for their own self-interest. I mean, that Trump it came to my mind when we talk about flatheads. It came to my mind, the original Frankenstein's monster from the movie had a flathead, but it was a reanimated corpse wreaking havoc upon the community there. And a murderous reanimated corpse is what the Republican Party has become. And there's no, with what they were willing to do for Donald Trump, what they're still willing to do for Donald Trump, each and every one, no matter how tangentially connected to this insurrection, they are all the fake electors and all the little coup plotters should be hauled up in front of the courts and jailed.
Maggie, thoughts?
Lock her up.
100%. I mean, Mark, great to hear from you. Thank you for being a long-time listener. Yeah, Donald Trump acting in his own self-interest. Yeah, that's the story of his life. He's incapable of anything different. For Mike Gableman, this is like, hey, I get to be in the spotlight again. I don't know squat, but people are listening to me. He's like the MyPillow guy, right? I mean, they're intellectual peers. They don't have two gray cells to rub together, but like all sound and fury signifying nothing more for
pounding the desks. I've got a couple more. Gary from Sussex, you're up. Welcome, Gary. What do you got for us?
Hey, hi, Maggie. I'm a conservative. I'm a 70-year-old conservative. I drive the boys nuts for the last 4 years. So
just because you got sexy legs, though, Gary.
Yeah, right. The thing is, they know that I'm, I don't hurt anybody. But you know what? You mentioned before about we're talking about Trump. Now, Fox does not cover it, and I do watch Fox. I also watch, MSNBC, Don Lemon, and the whole shoot and shebang.
Did you watch Fox last Sunday, Gary? Just out of curiosity, about noon.
Tell you what, I don't know what I even had to breakfast this morning, so don't ask me last Sunday. How would I know? Okay, but the thing is this. Donald Trump really, really believed that he was cheated out of the election. He had people like Giuliani telling him that he was cheated out of the election.
No.
So really
Giuliani was the drunkest man in the room, according to the testimony, Gary.
No.
I understand that. But back to the man, you can't listen too much. You can't convict somebody of a crime. You can't convict somebody of a crime if he didn't say go in there and use like violence.
All right, Gary, we get your point. Maggie, is ignorance of the law an excuse?
Yeah. Really interesting, because conservative legal scholar and Judge Ludwig actually had something to say about this, Gary from Sussex, who's been a conservative and annoying his employees for 4 years. Here's what Judge Ludwig had to say. The former president's accountability under the law for the riot on the United States Capitol on January 6th is incidental to, meaning intertwined with, his responsibility and accountability for his attempt to steal the 2020 presidential election from the American people and thereby steal America's democracy from America herself. This said, willful ignorance of the law and fact is neither excuse nor defense in law. Willful ignorance, thus, is neither political nor legal excuse or defense available to the former president of the United States, his allies, and his supporters. So with all due respect, Gary, you don't know what you're talking about, but go ahead and turn Fox News back on. I'm sure that'll enlighten you more, my friend.
Maggie Dawn, our fine guest, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. He didn't say hang Mike Pence. He said it would be a shame if you hung Mike Pence. Come on down for the Friday Night Live, going live from downtown Waukesha right after we commence. And everyone have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Happy Father's Day to all the papas. At least those that pay the child support. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Maggie D.
Oh, big
Big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
All right. See you later.
Don't mess with the devil, buddy.
Listen to Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM, Madison's home for progressive news talk radio, bringing you a lineup of live talk radio every single weekday. Tune in for Dueling Tangents with Luke and Brian every afternoon from 2 to 3 p.m. for Wisconsin news and a tangent or two. The Devil's Advocates radio show is live every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. Still, the greatest radio show ever. Always streaming at devilradio927.com.
Devil Radio has been kicking ass, earning every listener, and providing our sponsors return on investment 3 years now on the Madison airwaves. And there has never been a better time than right now to advertise with us and join the Devil Radio community. Our audience is loyal and growing every day. Active listeners that don't flip. Wonder if your ad dollars are working? Devil Radio listeners will tell you it works. Ad production is included. Devil Radio will make it easy for you to start seeing return on your investment. Call today.
You are listening to WTTN 1580